Are we live?
Hello,
Gang,
Are we live?
Citizens
speak to us.
of the Reject Nation.
Can you guys put your mics
Closer?
unusually close to your
Unusually,
mouth?
how's that? A little ASMR?
Yeah, just because it'll sound louder to
Asthma.
us,
Oh, then it does them? Okay.
but it won't. It's for some reason on the stream, on the playback, it's the one part we haven't got it
Oh,
down
all right,
just
well,
yet.
just
We blasted, but
And
you
yet,
know. Can you
eat
guys
that
hear
mic.
us?
Hello. Who-
Thanks, Mike Joyce. So what's going on, guys? Can you guys hear us? Let us know if you can hear us.
That's the first step. It's
First step. in a
Every live stream
long
starts
step.
like this.
make this
Live.
A real
Christian
live.
Unpronounceable. Always
Live.
faithful.
Oh yeah,
The man's ready.
perfect
Okay,
ironic name.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since the three of us have done a live stream
Months.
together. You guys, we put it in the community post and on Instagram if we should do this because I was like, do we need to do a live stream for this movie that apparently is really underperforming at the box office right now?
Sure.
And is there enough to spoiler about? And I think there's enough deep dive stuff, like a real film talk to have. So I thought, yeah, this would be a fun time since you guys voted for it. Coy has a lot to say.
So much.
Coy loves it. It's his favorite
Oh,
movie
yes,
of the year
cinema.
so far.
Number one.
They were
Beat
just
out
talking
Doom.
beforehand about how much they really like this movie.
Move over, Fight Club.
So, guys, get ready to dog on these two for their opinions.
Yeah.
While
Side
you're
with
here,
Greg.
yeah, while you're here, leave a like on this video. That'd be very much appreciated. Also, thanks to everyone who showed up for the She-Jex live stream last week. It was a great success. You guys kept us live for longer than we expected because of all your crazy super chats and stream labs. We never end a stream without going through each and every one of them. So, yeah, Coy, since you had done your reviews on your own solo channel, but you haven't said anything here just yet. What did you think about this movie?
I'm very excited that we get to have a dialogue because I think this is a movie worth having a conversation about. And I think that's my favorite thing about this movie is it actually had something to say. I love that the first film is so bold and so artistic and so interesting. And I love that this movie completely dismantles a lot of the things that made that first movie what it was in another artistic way. I think the opening of this film is a perfect microcosm for the rest of the film. The opening lays out what this film is going to give us, but it does it in such an interesting way. You don't realize that the whole movie's been told you in the first 5 minutes. The movie being about, this is spoilers, this movie being about the shadow self in a very like psychological way, in a very therapy way, but the shadow of Arthur being the Joker is illustrated by, in the opening, him being trapped kind of in the makeup and the shadow being a literal shadow. And the rest of the film, it's him trying to escape the shadow of the Joker, which is this thing he created. And that, to me, feels very interesting because I feel like the first film, this is all my opinion, I feel like the first film would never have gotten made. It would have been called The Stand-Up Comedian or the Comic, and it would have made $7. And calling it The Joker was the only thing Joker about it. This movie was never about the Joker. There's a guy named Bruce Wayne who's 7 years old. He's not fighting AARP Joker later. It is not a movie about that Joker. It never was. And so I liked that a lot of people were like, well, maybe he inspired the Joker, and there are all these theories. I liked the first film causing conversation. What I didn't like was that it emboldened a horrible person. Just because he's weak doesn't mean he's good. Just because he's ostracized by society doesn't mean that that you also being ostracized mean you should root for him. I like that the second film puts you in a position to root for this guy, to feel empathy, all those things, and then goes, yeah, but remember he killed 6 people and then murders them. I think that the first film emboldened a lot of the wrong people. I think this film was the answer to that, and I love a sequel going, hey, we made a protagonist out of a piece of crap, murk him. And I don't love some of the things on the way there. I don't love the journey that it had to do with like the pacing and the tone. Not all of that worked, but the actual message of the film that we sensationalize violence and we don't give a crap about the normal person. We don't care about an individual. We only care about the spectacle. How well do murder mysteries do? How well does true crime do? How much do we love murder? How much do we want someone to be larger than life? This movie is supposed to be about the Joker to the audience, and as soon as it wasn't, they didn't care about Arthur Fleck, and that's the movie. The joke is on the audience. The Joker is Todd Phillips, and I think that's genius because we get to be on the receiving end of the magic trick. The Heath Ledger's magic trick was a pencil in the eye. This movie's magic trick is we got pencils in our eyes, and I think it's really interesting to look at the people that are mad at it. He kills people, and you're supposed to be like, yeah, this guy. The Joker should never have been a protagonist. The first movie should never have been called The Joker, but it wouldn't have made $1 billion. We never would have talked about it. 15 kids at LACMA would have seen it, but because it made $1 billion, we get to make a second film that actually inspires conversation. So love it or hate it, we're talking about it, and that makes me happy. That's why I wanted to do this live stream, because I didn't enjoy a lot of the journey there, but I loved the ending.
All right. Well, guys, what do you agree with Coy in the live stream chat? Do you guys agree with it? Put in the chat if let's go from like 1 through 10. Can you guys put your score down in there between 1 through 10 in there? What are people and John? Is there anything that you wanted to add on specific? What did you think about the ending, John?
I like the ending and concept. It's an aspect of the movie I think I definitely want to see it again to fully assess. I like I like the actual building block of what it is doing. I'm not 100% sure if, like, in the flow of the movie, it is, ironically or narratively satisfying, but I do appreciate what happened there and the punchline that it is.
I liked. I just loved the ending. I give this doesn't even make my top 20 of the year.
I think I think what can be said about Joker versus Joker 2 is that Joker 1 is perhaps a more smooth and watchable movie experience, but to me, it's a more smooth, watchable experience with less going on upstairs, whereas the second movie has more going on upstairs and is like a more rough and unrefined actual like watch. If that makes sense.
You can tell they ripped up the script every few days, as Lady Gaga was talking about.
Like, this has accumulated, like, interesting value in my mind as I've thought about it, whereas the first movie kind of devalued in my mind after the first view.
I feel like the first movie is meta in the sense that we feel like we can understand the idea of being so ostracized. Like, it's the first one's a commentary on society in an abstract way. I like that the second one is a commentary on society in a direct way because everyone wanted the Joker, everyone wanted violence, everyone wanted a color by numbers, and then when they didn't get that, they rebelled, and the audience is now the audience of the film. I love that every single person raging against this film is exactly what the film's about. That's so amazing for me.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy that too.
Yes, I think that things the movie is about is one thing. I think the execution and the journey there is a whole other conversation. And it's that whole conversation, it's that whole journey there that's the part that I found off-putting. I think the musical numbers especially don't work for this movie for so much of the musical numbers. I think a lot of them are flat. I think they take up a lot of runtime. I think a lot of time it's just them singing a song like with no style. A lot of times it feels hollow. I feel like Todd Phillips is a weird filmmaker. I think what he excels at in filmmaking in the drama department is tension in a two-character scene. Take the Murray and Arthur Fleck scene in the first movie. Take the scene here with Gary and Joker in the courtroom. And I think that comes with this comedy background of understanding tension and release very well. What I don't think he is a great writer. I feel like I don't think Todd Phillips actually gives a shit about any of these subjects. I think what he likes are movies that do these subjects. I think he's drawn to that. In I love Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but I'm not really going to understand the depth of what this society and sociopathic pathology is of these people. I'm more into what the movies are, not really into what the subject is. And I think that's where a lot of this falls flat. And it's like the same thing here with the musical numbers. I'm sure he likes musical numbers, but he doesn't really understand why to use them. I feel like the fantasy element of this, I was reflecting on it going, I think what one of my favorite musical numbers in here that I thought worked was actually when he's in the courtroom. It's the one where he like smashes the judge with a hammer.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Because that right there is an actual transitional one that is showing a progression in his mind of where he's going to, not just another one of like, hey, I like Harley, I'm gonna go sing with Harley right now, you know.
Yeah.
So and I like the one where they break out of prison, or when they're trying to do the break out of prison after Harley sets the fire at the piano.
Ones where you feel transported into their minds
and connected to it all.
That was a good one, but so much of those musical numbers feel self-indulgent, and I don't think he really understands the purpose. When I think what could have really happened is a bit of like a Darren Aronofsky type of descent with the musical numbers where things are getting kind of interrupted. Like, I like the concept of when Harley shoots Joker in his fantasy dream, like on the image on screen, that scene right there, the Harley and Joker show. But what if his fantasies like kept getting more interrupted and more falling apart? So that way, the
crumbles.
fantasy just starts reflecting what's going on instead of okay, they're performing now. Now he's tap dancing. All right,
and
sure,
we just wait for longer
nothing.
and longer.
This means absolutely nothing.
That's absolutely my biggest complaint.
The pacing is the worst part of the film to me.
Yeah, it's I don't. Yeah, I had a lot of issues with specifically. That stuff. Don't get me wrong. I like this is not one of those movies to me that I obnoxiously hate. I actually saw a comment on your video that I think is a very I wish I could credit the person on one of your videos. I forget what they said, but they were talking about the ending and they said that, and I thought it was like the perfect summary for what they're probably going for is that when he gets killed, is that it's his shadow finally catching up with him from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what a great comment.
Because I don't think that person was real. And it's not Heath Ledger's Joker. While we're on that subject, Heath Ledger, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I know that cutting a face, but like Harvey Dent's in this movie. Does Harvey Dent get blown up twice? Does he have quad face?
I know no one points that out.
I was just like, what? The Harvey Dent's over there.
No one points that out.
It's not a prequel to The Dark Knight.
Everyone's trying to do it. It's like, it's Heath Ledger's age.
Yeah,
So I'm like, Harvey Dent's right here.
He's
guys.
right
Like,
there.
Use that as your example.
That came
Two-Face.
that came from the same tool bag that the whole like, oh, the Joker inspired the death of Bruce Wayne's parents and he created
God.
Batman. Like it felt like the same
Leaps on leaps
cloth.
on leaps.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That just drove me insane.
No, yeah, I mean, like the ending of it, I like the idea of his shadow catching up with him at the very end of it all. I like the idea that the evil lives on in of his actions, despite his contrition for it. It'll pass along to someone else. You know, like
Well,
there's aspects to it that I like, but at the same time, I think. I wasn't a fan of the choice of him to be like, I'm not Joker. I personally wasn't a fan for this movie to do that choice.
I think the movie is about it, like his weakness as a person, and I personally liked that choice because it was him like letting go, and then we got to see our eye line, which is Lee Quinn, like Lady Gaga's us. It's the audience wanting violence and wanting him to be the Joker. Him denying that, then her leaving is what the audience is experiencing right now talking about this movie. So that moment to me was worth it because her being like, well, I'm done with you is everyone on Twitter, or 70 to 80% of everyone on Twitter. And like, again, I give this maybe a 6.5, maybe a 7, depending on my mood, probably about a 6.5 out of 10. Again, like but not love. But I think the ending and the conversation is worth passing that 5. Like, I think it's more success than not. But I hated the fact that we had to endure moments where, like, yeah, Joker, he's coping with song. Like, in the first film, the laugh is uncontrollable and it feels like a tick and it's something he can't control. I like the idea of song as like a balm on the wound and how it was consoling, but it doesn't let the pacing do any of the things you described. Would have added like an intellectual element to it, a psychological element to it. I like the fact that the inversion of Harley Quinn, where she's the strong one and Joker's the weak one, and she's the one leading to play on the
She's
Mr.
the
J element.
Manson girl,
and I like that, but
like that
it
idea.
didn't really work by the time they like threw in the pregnancy thing. I was like, why that part? And like, enough is wrong that if you trimmed the fat and made this an hour and 50 instead of 220, this could have been like an 8. But the movie doesn't know what it is for the second act, and I feel like that's part of what you're talking about. But Todd Phillips is in love with a director style and not with the subject matter the director was styling.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big problem. It's like David Fincher obviously really has a fascination with serial killers. But he doesn't just watch serial killer movies and goes, I'm going to make 7.
He worries me that he gets them so well. I don't worry about Todd Phillips.
And that's what I feel like Todd Phillips does. That's why Todd Phillips can't really talk about these subjects in interviews.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I just like the movies. I'm like, well, don't make these kind of movies then, because then you kind of miss the point of it. And that's sort of what happens. Like, okay, I get the arc that Arthur goes on. That was something that I was like, okay, good, interesting. I'm like conflicted about it. Interesting choice for this movie. But then when I look back on the journey of it, I'm like, the first movie's so much about Arthur suffering and going through this mental health shit. And then he becomes the Joker by the end of the movie. And then this movie kind of just does that again with a different conclusion.
The first 2 acts are repeated.
And so I was like, Jesus, this is like a waste. So I was like, a lot of it just kind of felt like a waste of time to me when I think like it would have been more interesting if you just started it off where he
left off
where he is the Joker and then he concludes that.
Yeah,
I think it would have been I think it would have been totally fine if he starts off he's the Joker and then by the end he realizes this is all just a facade. That he's
Eroding away the Joker
Yeah,
instead of rebuilding him again.
Not rebuilding, and then 10 minutes later, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part of it that I feel like there's just bad structuring in some parts of this movie.
Because the film's effectively an epilogue to the first film, and it would have been interesting if it went like, 0 Joker to 10 Joker down to 0 Joker again, like one mountain. But instead, we got like Act 1 and 2 repeated, as you said, in the second film, and it didn't feel as cathartic. There wasn't that beautiful like scene in the bathroom. The scene in the bathroom is one of the most beautiful moments I can think of in the last like 5-6 years. There wasn't a moment like that in the film where I felt as connected.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we got a couple of super chats right now. I want to make sure that we at least acknowledge them right now because they came in a little bit ago. Let me read them. First off, hold on a sec. Un momento, por favor. Let me just get this situated. John?
Yes.
Read some comments.
I did not get the interpretation that Catherine Keener resembled Arthur's mom. That's an interesting observation for sure. And, hey, in terms of Todd Phillips missing the point, it's easier to come up with what you want to talk about than articulating the conversation through, art. And I think that's probably what happened
We
here.
lost Craig. Oh, Craig's back.
Sorry.
We lost
Don't
Craig.
worry. I'll
He's
be
coming.
able to move this camera around like that, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. So really quick, we missed this at the last. This is for the She-Jacks, but we missed this.
Oh,
We
no.
missed this last time, so I want to acknowledge this because Brian Pay said last week, "I know I missed the stream, but I would love Taryn Rocks to react to Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor the second season. Bly Manor is my favorite Mike Flanagan show, and I think I would love it. Please don't do anything. I'll donate more. Have you seen Haunting of Hill House?
I
Boy?
love Haunting of Hill House. I think
So
Flanagan's early stuff is like my exact jam. And his Shining sequel is so slept on. I didn't love his...
Doctor slept on.
Yeah.
Doctor slept on. I'd say.
I didn't love the newest show, but I love those two dearly. The newest one's the only one I couldn't connect to. I think Spooky Season is Flanagan. Like I wanted his Clayface movie so bad. Speaking of Joker tie-ins, he was going to be doing one of the Black Label movies before Todd Phillips quit.
Spooky Season.
Spooky Season.
Hey.
All right, we got a few here. Yeah, see, a lot of people haven't seen this movie.
It's doing dozens of dollars.
I know.
It's making...
Which is sad. Like I do find the this is trash argument kind of sad because I think it's interesting that this and Megalopolis are both out at the same time.
Right.
Because they both, and I haven't seen Megalopolis yet, but they both seem like, to me, from the outside of at least one of them, like a real piece of art and cinema. And then the question is this garbage cinema or is this high-minded cinema we don't quite understand? And I feel like they're both probably landing below the ideal line, but I do appreciate that both films are unique and that this one, at least Joker 2, has stuck in my mind, has compelled me to think of it, and does feel like something that you can legitimately approach from all angles. And so I do think that regardless of the degree of success, they have crafted like a real, actual, honest to goodness piece of art here. And so I do feel kind of bummed when people are just like, oh, this is garbage, and that's it.
I really struggle with the idea of listening, and it's ironic because of what we all do for a living. But I find it interesting that people would be like, I hear it's not good. I will never know for myself. It's
This
such
is
an
the
odd...
exact kind of movie you should go see.
Yeah,
because
you're going to experience
both
it differently.
movies are a Rorschach test, and this one is especially.
I think, though, at the end of the day, if you're going to do a Joker movie, you can't completely deviate from the Joker.
The first one did, though, and it made $1 billion.
At the same time, that one at least has a semi-argument that he at least arcs into the Joker by that end of that movie.
I think this
You
is
know, like
still
the-
about
Bruce Wayne thing for me.
the
Just
Joker, though. The themes of
comedian, him being the failed comedian who goes in there and loses his mind, and Gotham's the thing that shapes him. I think that's a lot of Jokerisms. For him to completely denounce the Joker by the end of this movie in your second installment, I feel like if you shouldn't have made a Joker movie. I feel like Todd Phillips, you shouldn't have made a Joker movie.
I
because
never
you clearly
thought
have no real interest in the Joker.
But I think he's made that clear in every interview. Like, he doesn't like
Then he
DC.
shouldn't have fucking done the movie. Is what I'm saying.
But it made $1 billion.
He shouldn't have done because there's enough in the first one that at least resembles something of that at least resembles Joker.
I
This
think
does
that
this
stuff
completely
is here.
I mean, he literally
the
kills a
fact
guy
that-
with a hammer.
He is the
He
anti
doesn't
to
kill anyone with a hammer. He just kills no one in this movie.
In the song with the judge.
In the fantasy, not in real
that
life.
doesn't actually happen.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't
like,
kill any. He only killing someone in your. I kill people in my fantasy mind. That doesn't mean I'm going to actually kill someone.
I never considered either of the films like the Joker Maybe that's why I liked it more than. I mean, this is an epiphany. Maybe that's why I like this one more
Then
because
I feel like as a franchise, they shouldn't have done it. Like, because I feel like there's no point in doing it. The way I feel how people feel about Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi is how I kind of feel about what he did here.
And it's ironic that I love Last Jedi and I like this more than most. I think like having people like see their heroes destroyed is important for growth. And I think idolizing the Joker is dangerous, and it should be nipped in the bud.
Well, and less personified in just Arthur himself, but I feel like this movie is still steeped in like the concepts that make the Joker what that character is, the antithesis to all of society and order.
Well, I think that Joker should never have an origin. Like, I think Joker should be an element of chaos. That's why the first film, I mean, Dark Knight is the Joker to me, and that's like he literally has 3 origins that he espouses. Like, he is someone without a beginning. He's just chaos. So the idea of a Joker origin movie inherently I don't like. So maybe that's another reason I like this, because it wasn't Joker to me. Like, it's a Joker, a man who jokes, but his jokes aren't funny, and he's not a clown prince of crime. He doesn't do crime, like organized crime. He's not like a mastermind.
Like they clearly acknowledge there's the Wayne industry, there's Bruce Thomas Wayne, there's
Bruce
Wayne,
is
there's
7 years
I
old.
think it is the Fight Club thing, though, about, oh, God, what, like, once he finally realizes toward the end, it's like, oh, what have I created, and it's well beyond my control, and just because I now realize, no, I did do these things, it was Arthur, there is no Joker, it's all just me. The Joker does still exist because there are just all these people who idealize this guy and want to move like their perception of who the Joker is. And so, in a way, it's like Halloween Kills, but more successful to me in that the spirit of the Joker and the inspiration to go out and to be anarchic and violent, it still lives on. And I feel like that is kind of the tragedy of the whole thing.
To me, it's like how Brightburn is Superman. It's just such a stretch. Like, so I'm like, yeah, sure, Brightburn is Superman's story, but like over there.
Okay, I want to read some of these super chats.
Okay,
Samil
sorry.
Badenfeld, he said, but let me just refresh this because we just got another one that came in here. All right, the video Roxy's doing well. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. No, see, that's the thing is like I like the dual layer of what you just said, John, because I'm like, yeah, that's what I was saying that I like about the ending is that the Joker. The concept of Joker lives on, like in the Halloween Kills interpretation, that I think for your focus of your singular character, and I think it's kind of like fucked up what they did with the guy cutting his face at the end of like to do like a Heath Ledger homage. It's very much a Heath Ledger.
Oh,
thing.
100%.
And I think it's kind of like messed up to do. I think that's like I don't know. It feels tone deaf to me.
It's one of the only characters I consider sacrosanct.
I thought that was really bad. That's what I mean. I feel like Todd Phillips just doesn't understand shit.
In a movie,
and like you don't like touch the DC universe if you don't actually like DC. And this is the same shit of why people got mad at Zack Snyder, but I think this is even more aggressive.
I think it's way more egregiously like dismissive of it.
Yeah.
I just think it's willy-nilly. I think that's a detail where it's like you've been so focused about so many other things, and now you're just going to be like, blah, just a reference to Heath Ledger, because why not? You know, like.
But the film, like the end credits, it doesn't even say DC Studios. It says based on characters from DC Comics. Like to me, it feels like DC's like, we're gonna go. If you're gonna go over there, we're gonna go over there. Like it did not feel like it tried to be connected.
Samil Badenfeld says, haven't seen the movie yet, but sending my support. Those are the best kind of supporters right there.
We love
for
you.
sure.
We're sending you our support.
Jonathan Widow, we will get to that. Thank you for your first super chat.
Thanks, buddy.
Benji7586 says, hey, from Puerto Rico, love your content, guys. I actually liked it, but I didn't love it.
Same.
The acting was great, and the music was well, in my opinion. Music's fine if I'm just listening to a soundtrack, you know.
Even then, it's not that. For casting Johnny Cash and Lady Gaga, I was not impressed.
It is, yeah, and this has been well trodden, but it's you want to see the musical numbers. Like I get the salve thing, the sort of it's the antidote or it's the way to harmonize your soul, but yeah, it's like I think if you did that and you're hearkening to old movies, like you should embrace the fan. Like I can imagine a version of this movie where you start, like you said earlier, seeing Joker's world and perspective through the fantasy of the music, where everything's different, and fly some walls out, get the ensemble, and everyone in the scene is involved because this is his fantasy. Then cut back to reality and realize that that's not actually what's going on. And then as you suggested throughout the movie, you can break that fantasy more and more until he's confronted by it.
And if
like
it's a
such
fantasy,
bummer
they could've-
choice because there's so much potential.
Well, I think just as a movie, like Galaxy Geek says it, I was so bored a lot of like I wasn't nonstop bored. Like when I say I think 40 minutes of this movie is good, I don't mean like there's just A solid, it's good the first 30, and then suddenly it's boring. I'm like, no, like it was fluctuating.
I think Alonzo Duralde on the Breakfast All Day podcast summed it up in a good sense. I think it was him. He said, it's more fun to talk about than it is to watch this movie.
I totally
and
agree
I
with
would
that.
agree with that.
I'd given it like
Yeah.
a 2 out of 5 until the ending, and then that upped
Yeah.
it to a 3. It's fiction, Elijah.
Remind me.
I thought it was a documentary.
Remind me to bring up the opening scene again later on. Benji7586, thank you so much for wait, I need to refresh this. So sorry, everyone. I'm wasting everyone's time
Make
here.
it fresh.
Moments of waste.
Get it right. Get it right. Get it tight. Like Natural Born Killers with the crazy images. Kinda. I feel like you could have gone more Natural Born Killers.
And more
honestly.
crazy.
Charles Smith says the first Joker was a pretentious knockoff of King of Comedy and Taxi Driver in the style of Eternal Sunshine. Joker 2 is completely unique in the worst way. Yes, that's what I was telling John on the car ride over. Is my suspicion is that he has a template for the first one. A lot of times that filmmakers do that. They use templates of other. I think like Bryan Singer even used like Empire Strikes Back as a template for one of the X-Men movies.
I think
if I'm not
X2,
mistaken.
right?
Yeah,
Because
there
the
was-
ending is that cliffhanger with Phoenix. I think it is.
There was something there where so a lot of times people use templates in movies. Now that was like a template homage film.
sure,
and-
not like a.
Yeah, I mean this one was let's put it together in the editing room. Let's just shoot.
And it felt like it.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
He needed a guide. A Zoop, I would have liked to have seen Battison just pop in and say, "I'm Batman," and grab a look away.
Yeah. Just swing right into the foreground of the scene and then leave.
I'm surprised Alfred Pennyworth. There's a bit of a Seinfeld Curb Your Enthusiasm structure to this movie, isn't there? Where they're all just coming on some trial. I thought of that halfway through. I'm like, they're just doing the Seinfeld Curb Your Enthusiasm
Oh, that'd
movie.
be so funny. Where it's just an addendum to fix the other thing. Oh, that's
They're
great.
just looking back at the first movie on a courtroom trial while judging Arthur. That's what it's the Seinfeld Curb Your Enthusiasm plot. But I thought I halfway expected why is it like Alfred on the stand right here? He totally
He was relate. He has a direct
kinda
connection.
assaulted a little boy.
Couldn't get the actor.
Yeah.
I thought they would have brought up the whole thing about being, is Thomas Wayne his father and stuff. I thought
Yeah, that was way interesting
I
in the
thought
first
that
film.
would have come up in the conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's for as comprehensive as the revisitation of the first film was. That stuff's almost not there at all.
Yeah, they remade the first film, but they didn't use plot points from the
Yeah.
first film.
Charles Smith. Yeah. To respond to John, Joker has no arc in this film. He starts where he ended and passes his torch, even though he never became a fully realized Joker.
I don't know if I would say there's no arc, but I don't think it's like a very steep arc. You
Sure.
know what I mean? It's kind of
It's like a hill, not a mountain.
It's a little bit of a It's like one of those humps in the road.
Well, the arc is him taking accountability.
Yeah.
And disavowing the character that he built up.
Like it's weird as like in just an Arthur Fleck story, I get it. As a Joker story, I'm like Joker. Just what Joker interpret? Like the idea of like in your second movie after just becoming the Joker, would he just denounce it and feel like I feel bad about what I did? Like that's just not Joker to me in any capacity.
I never even the confident end of first movie Joker is not bold enough to be the Joker to me. So I never thought Arthur Fleck was the Joker.
It's the first movie. That's my point.
But
is
the
that
Joker
you-
shouldn't have an origin
then
movie.
You start to move. Then you start to go up, and then your second one, he should. I feel like he should be getting worse.
He didn't fall in a vat. He's not
Harley
Joker.
Quinn should propel that out of him. You
I
know?
agree. I would agree with your first point more if they led with that, him just being like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and that's like where we start from. But I do wholeheartedly
The Joker
agree.
you're thinking of, yeah.
I do wholeheartedly agree with your second point, though. Is like, yeah, the battle between the shadow and the self should be way more jagged. I
Yeah.
feel like, and way more, off the hinges.
Yeah, no one bought a movie ticket to see an Arthur Fleck movie. That's
why they called it Joker.
That's the. I know, but that's fucked up to do to an audience. I think.
I think it's funny.
I don't actually.
I think
I'm
trolling-
not actually that
I think
bothered.
trolling
I'm
millions
like,
of people
if
is
you come
hilarious.
into this movie without the, I think the investment in Arthur Fleck is crucial to a movie like this. Like, if you're mainly concerned with the Joker-ness of it all, I would expect to be disappointed regardless with this.
I think the joke being on the audience is funny. I think trolling millions of people is very funny.
Yeah, it's panning out great for Warner Brothers, and
I mean, their other
and
movies
this-
did so
and
well.
this is why they're being desperate and bringing freaking fans in now to critique their films.
Well, I think that
And-
they're
Oh, yeah,
bringing
that-
like I
and-
think this is a good last stop before the revamp.
And then if you're gonna just pretty much remake your first movie, yeah, see, I think a lot of people. That's the thing. Is like I wouldn't complain if it was just called Arthur. I think the first movie has a fine, maybe not a fine line, but at least some distinguishable line that he clearly becomes the Joker by the end of that movie.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
in some capacity, he's at least on the starting point to being the Joker.
You want to feel like that cartoon in the beginning and the personification therein is like the real struggle that's happening.
I just
here.
didn't get the starting off point. Like, why is he exactly back to the? It was just, it was annoying me.
They
Sorry,
said that
I
he's
keep
in a
getting-
position where he's been like the Joker's been completely medicated out of him, which I don't think is a bad choice, but I don't think it's necessarily the ideal place to start. I would agree.
And that's that's one of the aspects of the writing that I thought was shit. Is that you don't do your movie where you're starting off with, is the Joker a split personality inside? I'm like, interesting concept. Why don't you explore that then? Why the movie? I think that would have hit a lot harder than by the arc and probably been more acceptable for most people if they actually leaned into. Is it a split personality within him, or is it not a split personality? You know,
I think that's
and
why
the
the
movie
third-
doesn't explore that at all.
Being less subtle, like trying to go more subtle and weirdly less focused on that does hurt it. I feel like that's the thing that should have been, if anything in this movie should have been writ large, it's the grappling between the two halves of the identity.
Jonathan Widdop, what's up, man? This is the most like we haven't been focused on. There's just so much. To,
I'm
like,
just
talk-
staying quiet.
Hello, all. Been watching you guys for years. I rewatched Joker on my rewatch, and I saw his diary. I want people to see me. I hope my death makes more sense than my life. I really love this movie, and I hope people come around.
Oh,
I hope so too.
the first? Are you meaning you really love the first?
I just
guess
feel
you
like I'm
must.
defending a movie I only liked and didn't love. I feel like so I'm in a tricky spot because people think I like everything, especially like any live chat. But like I just don't. I didn't talk about Megalopolis. I didn't talk about Madam Web. I just don't like spending time on stuff I didn't like. This movie is not something I loved. I just like that incels lost their god. Like I like that people that are bad and worship murderers don't have a hero. Like I think we should look at society and go, it's not good if we want someone to be evil instead of look at their problems. And so for me, I like that the film goes, hey, as soon as this guy doesn't become the Joker, our eyeline walks out of the movie. I think that's interesting. So again, the movie was a mess to get to that point. It was boring a lot of the time. It didn't work with its tone and songs, but the message was enough for me to defend it. But it's also a thing where I hope in like Jonathan saying, people look back on it with the benefit of hindsight. When I finished the first Joker movie, you can check all my reviews. I never thought the end of the movie, I'm like, that's my Joker. I haven't seen the Joker on screen except for the deleted scene with Barry Keoghan since Heath Ledger. I don't consider the Gotham Joker canon. I don't consider... I mean, the deleted scene with Pattinson and Barry is way more interesting than the one they kept in the movie. That's why I would consider him the Batman's Joker. But this wasn't a Joker movie. It never was. Bruce Wayne is 7. It is, to me, never canon, and I like Elseworlds. So... it, to me, was a fun experiment, and it got people thinking. It got me thinking, so I enjoy that enough. And I think Jonathan's right. In 10 years, some people will come across this and find joy in that. And I would rather a movie inspire conversation like we're having than a movie be color by numbers. People didn't like Miss Marvel, and people did like Miss Marvel. No one talked about, Captain Marvel 2. No one talked about it. It just was liked or wasn't. Like, people didn't have anything to say. It didn't inspire conversation. I would much rather something get a D and inspire conversation than get a C+ and just go out of the zeitgeist. So I'm going to defend having a conversation.
But what conversation?
The conversation about like what society
think
does
the
to
movie-
people versus like
I don't feel like most of the conversation is about that.
I think
I
this
feel like most
is-
of the conversation is about something completely different.
I think this is an interesting movie that inspires a lot of conversation, even if a lot of the filmmaking can be very hit or miss. And I think that's worth acknowledging because I agree that there's a lot of stuff that just goes in one ear and out the other, and you're like, meh. Whereas this, I'm like, well, you can at least have a lot of conversations about it, and I am like compelled by the interesting nature of that.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also honored to finally be on the DC payroll after years of being on the Marvel payroll. I am finally uniting the comic companies. I think the conversation is about how you interpret the art because it is more abstract. Like, the color by number movies we get 80% of the time to this scale. Like, there's a lot of independent film that actually asks questions, but no one talks about them because they're not called Joker. If this movie was called Arthur Fleck, no one would be talking about it. So at least a big blockbuster that dismantles blockbusters is interesting.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like I guess I don't agree with the approach into this conversation. It's like just be provoking is not the same as being provocative, I guess.
Ooh, I like that.
Well,
You
it's
know?
what you take out of the movie theater experience. It's like, yeah, there are a lot of gripes and stuff, but I have left the movie with a lot on my mind that has stayed on my mind and that has turned over in my mind, and there's a conversation happening. And not every movie inspires that, and I think it's legitimate to at least pin that to a movie's lapel and be like, oh, well, there's at least that, you know?
I'm not sure that got misinterpreted. I in no way called everyone that didn't like the movie an incel. I'm saying that people that idolize characters like Taxi Driver and Jordan Belfort. I think there's a large community of people that
That's
don't
weird.
understand
I
the
am
subtext.
voting for Trump now.
This movie inspired some choices. You're like, I feel compelled to harm my fellow man.
Where's my
I'm
man
gonna start
Vance at?
petitioning for that too. I'm going to start being very public about all my political views moving forward.
I just don't want like the misinterpretation of like if you didn't like this movie, I have no problem with that. Like it's an odd black and white thing that people are interpreting. I don't mind people not liking this movie. I'm saying it's interesting. We're talking about something that has layers.
You know what I like though? Chris Whamoff.
Chris Whamoff! Chris Whamoff!
Thank you so
Jesus.
much,
Making the
Christopher.
nonstop rambling worth it.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Normally,
I
these-
want to have input, but also, Chris, thank you for the pause.
normally these live streams we like go through a lot of the opinions, and then we just kind of stick to like the Streamlabs and Super Chats, and now we're just like we're just kind of zigzagging between like our own conversation between us.
And then this, and then this, and then
Because
this.
we haven't been able to really converse with each other about
Yeah,
it.
we haven't spoken at all.
cinema.
Greg and I texted that night, and I was more excited to be like, someone to talk to about this.
Yeah.
And now I feel like we're doing it live, but it's causing pure chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if any of you felt insulted. That was never my intent, and I really hope that's the conversation.
Chris, we love you, buddy. Seriously, when are you? I mean it when I say that when you get married, I would love to attend.
Is it this year? Like in the next
I
year?
think sometime in the next 365 days at least.
Hell yeah!
I really want to attend your wedding. I think that would be so fun.
That would be.
It's just like some random dude.
Just in the audience, like,
Carrying the ring up.
Hey, what's up, man?
I would like to meet the Whamoffs. Like, I think meeting the family Whamoff would be awesome.
That would be
he
so
seems
funny.
so good.
Meet the family.
Because anyone that made this wholesome of a person has to be great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of wholesome family creates the Chris Whamoff
Sure.
experience?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know. I feel like it's just a bunch of Paddingtons. Like, just a bunch of, like, Paddington bear good people.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Just like a whole family of Paddington bears.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris
Thank
you.
Paddington.
So sweet.
So appreciate it.
Fuzzy Otter Paws. Fun. Ironic that Joker was the highest grossing R-rated movie until Deadpool and Wolverine, and now the sequel comes out a couple months later and does the opposite of not doing well. Yeah, that is a little bit funny. Zazie Beetz returns though for this movie, but not Deadpool and Wolverine for some
Oh, that
reason.
is interesting.
Also,
Yeah, that's
since
weird.
2 sequels to giant
strange.
R-rated films.
Also, since Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn, does she sing Joker face?
She should sing Bad Romance.
She
that's what
made a
they
whole,
have.
She made a whole album alongside
any
this
good?
movie. I haven't heard it yet.
I don't
Okay.
think in one part of this conversation did I ever say I expect this Joker to fight Batman. I don't even think you need the Batman part of it. I just feel like there's a lot that feels too antithetical.
I feel using Bruce Wayne establishes that it's not going to happen, but I don't think you expected it to happen.
I don't think not one part of me expected that to happen.
That's what you were texting me about. You're like, where was Batman,
why
boy?
was he
What
fighting-
comic was this
Why
in?
did he fight that
I
kid?
thought this was the time he
He was going
punches
to punch
Batman.
that child
Why
in the
did he-
face.
Also, since late, yeah, I think the choice for them to sing in camera too is, especially because so much of it is just going into the fantasy of someone's mind. That's what I mean. Like, dude, I get it. Les Mis, cool movie. They sang in camera. But that movie is a pure musical from beginning to end where those are the scenes moving forward. We are talking strictly a fantasy movie where they're going into the mind and having it. I think singing in camera actually detracted from the musical experience
I
because
agree.
it fucks with the audio.
Well, they
of
didn't
it.
go. They didn't go into the mind. Is the problem? You only
Yeah.
you watch them emote on face, but yeah, you don't actually transport anywhere. And it's like, yeah, doing the naturalistic in
Yeah.
camera might not lend itself to a fantastical musical number, but also, yeah, like some dynamics there would have been nice, or some variety there would have been nice.
Yeah. That was such a weird choice to me.
Especially when it's a movie about someone disillusioned with the world escaping through music to not escape through music.
I like it half the time because like the vocal performances sometimes are not like that flattering or perfect, and that's cool. But yeah, like transcend. It needed to transcend.
Well, like, okay, the in-camera one when he's on the phone leaving a voice message for Harley, that's like a great call to sing in camera.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know?
Totally.
But most of them,
And that could have been
I'm
after.
with you.
yeah.
Again, fly out the walls, get an ensemble, do some crazy lighting and set work, and yeah, go full big band, go full polished music, and then come back down to earth as a segue out
Yeah.
or for certain moments. Absolutely.
Damn V900, my man. I have a lot of problems with this film, but one thing no one is talking about is how the guards kill the inmate that support. That's what like. And then whenever there's something like that, people go, maybe it's just in his head, you know?
Yeah, that's really a cop-out.
It's not addressed at all afterwards. We see Arthur beaten by them. I think he's R-worded by the guards too?
Yeah, I
Or-
didn't
or
understand that.
assaulted in some way, sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that that's mainly just a comment on the fact that in especially the 80s and whatever else, and in an institution like this, the guards can do what they want and no one will step in to put any consequence to that. Which, I mean, is not that deep of a comment, but I feel like that's the comment.
Yeah.
And just people in that system are violated in every way, but like
yeah.
it didn't really add anything.
I mean, these sound like things from accounts of actual just misbehavior in mental institutions and prisons of like things that could happen, you know?
Okay.
But it felt like they tried to make it pointed and it didn't.
The safe thing. Here was the interpretation I was trying to get about, because someone brought it up, and we're going to continue the super chats in a second, is because we're on the subject of damn V900s, the grape scene. Grapes!
Grapes?
That's
Oh,
the safe word.
Got it.
The
I'm
grape
so
is-
I was like,
Yeah.
I believed you. I was like, there's a scene with grapes.
I
in this.
think like that's the moment of, like, after that moment happens, you see Arthur still trying to laugh, but he's slowly losing it when he's thrown into his cell and he hears the person get murdered off of the consequence of supporting him. So I do think it contributes again to the Arthur Fleck journey of him coming back down to reality here of like, here's what just happened to me. I can't, there's these consequences that happen that I just can't handle. You know, like he gets assaulted by the guards. And then before that, that's when he has the conversation with Gary on the trial. So I think it contributes to the compounding effect of what makes him realize, like, I can't just live this joke.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a purpose to it. It took a little bit of reflection, though, to be like, is that what they're doing? Because when I first saw it, I was like, what is happening? Like, it was one of those moments that happens in the movie where I'm like, is this just Todd Phillips trying to be like edgy right now? You know?
Yeah,
That's how
and
it
I felt
read
like that
at
a lot
first.
of the movie. Like there's
Yeah.
especially in the first two acts where I was like, oh, it's like, you know, propaganda towards being edgy. And that scene I didn't translate until like 2 days later as a just cumulative effect, but it felt so pointed. It didn't feel like it was adding to a thing. It felt like this is the thing, and then it didn't
Yeah.
translate.
Yeah. All right. All right. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Going.
I've triggered the audience.
It's okay. They're
Good,
they-
of course
they
you
can
would.
handle it.
Because I said that I hope they like it. If they didn't, I don't mind. I've triggered them.
I actually agree with Greg on this movie, though. I think he's still completely wrong about the Marvels. You know, I haven't revisited the Marvels, and I'm wondering if I would actually be like, yeah, it's fine. On like a rewatch.
Most stuff is it's fine on
Yeah.
rewatch.
I'm actually wondering if, like, on a rewatch, I'm like, whatever.
But isn't milquetoast kind of worse? Isn't it like being bland? I'd rather something be awful than fine.
Conceptually, yes, but when you walk out in your mood, is just like, you know, it's fine. Like, I don't know. I'm less. If I'm mad about it, then I'm mad.
I think
You
serviceable
know?
is like just unacceptable. I think serviceable is how we're gonna get these committee movies, like all these like fan groups they're talking
Well,
about forming.
Yeah, I know that's
Like
so
serviceable movies are worse than bad movies to me. I'd rather watch Megalopolis again, which I did not
mean,
enjoy.
There's a bit of a conversation to be had about sometimes they do bring in people who are like not fans at all, and sometimes do seem to have like a bit of an FU attitude towards like the intellectual properties, you know? Like
Oh, this definitely does.
That's what I think why Ryan Reynolds is fucking a G, because he knows the fans and he also
Yeah.
knows how to take like some swings, you know, without going into such a different direction to piss off anyone.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's like what we need a little bit more of like a Ryan Reynolds kind
He's a
of.
marketing genius that also knows narrative, and
Yeah.
that's I think why he does such good marketing is he understands both sides of the equation, the show and the business. And I don't think there's anyone else like him in
Yeah.
the space right now.
I think the friction can make for interesting, good art. I don't want a Ryan Reynolds for everything, but I might agree that certainly this would be a more agreeable movie in the hands of someone who like loves Joker and comics.
I think Matt Reeves doing what he's doing with Penguin is that.
It's like the first movie worked, and that's coming from the guy who doesn't, who
Well-
you know, has that friction.
Well,
you know?
I think like if you look at Matt Reeves is a good point because like if you look at the Batman, you literally have like a Nirvana emo Batman. Like if you were to tell someone that, you'd be like, that sounds so stupid and pretentious.
Yeah.
Like what? Like who's gonna want to watch that after Ben Affleck and Christian Bale? And then it ends up being like
So
arguably
cool.
the best Batman.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's what I mean is because he understood completely why at this point in his life he would be that way.
And
You
he
know?
completely understood what the
and he
audience needed to see differently.
Yeah.
I think he understands the audience as well as the character,
Yeah.
and that's that sweet spot.
Yes, and so I think you need filmmakers who have that sweet spot.
And that's why I'm so excited for more shows in that Elseworld. Like what he's building is its own thing, and that's why I don't want it to touch anything in the regular shared universe.
Yeah, but I think bringing in fans, take Rings of Power, which I love dealing with that fan base so much, is that there's plenty of people who make compelling arguments for why it honors Tolkien. And then there's plenty that make arguments for why it doesn't. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't just bring in some fans to be like, well, here's what it is. Because they're just going to piss off the other fans.
I think it's such a short-sighted idea,
Yeah.
and it's like almost as bad as AI. It's just a neutral conglomerate of theft. Like it's
Yeah.
just a little bit of an idea, a little bit of an idea. Oh, it's neutral.
It's
Art
just
isn't meant to be
another-
neutral.
Yeah, it's just another market testing. It's just
Yeah.
another form of test screening.
But I'm afraid of
or
giving them power.
pre-test.
Right
yeah.
now, it's reaction. If we give them the top of the instead of the bottom of the mountain,
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
something's done and you go like, "How's that? Let's tweak." Not like create.
And which fans are you getting to decide what all the fans think? Blah blah blah.
Right.
You know, I know some people don't like the chat being on screen, but I like it because when you do the playback, you get to see your name and faces on the playback.
Yeah.
So you're in the video
You're
with
a
us.
part of it.
And we also like
And
saying
some-
your name and
Some
stuff.
people don't like that, but I like it. Joe for show.
Great
you guys,
name.
Do you guys think at any part of Todd Phillips' mind, he kind of said, that's good enough. Yeah, I do, actually. I think that for a
The
lot
first
of-
and second act?
I think for a lot of the musical numbers, too, is like in the edit. Yeah, maybe he was frustrated with WWE when they asked him to make it. I don't know why he'd be frustrated. They gave him so much money.
And
he could
freedom.
literally, like, leave the country and, like, sip, you know, whatever. What do people drink?
Chai.
My ties.
Drink Mai Tais. Drink chai.
Chai, sure, why
tea
not?
on the beach.
I don't actually agree that I never got the vibe of this movie that anything was like, I don't really care, do whatever. Like I felt like whatever choices got made like were made intentionally and with like
Yeah.
a drive behind them. I just don't always think that they were focused or they amounted to what they hoped they would. But I didn't get the sense that they were sleepwalking through this.
I thought the good enough is more about focus than quality. I think there were times where he had a vision and he saw the vision, but he didn't double check the vision. I
I
think
feel
there was like, oh, that's the scene I thought.
I've really felt like so much of the courtroom drama scenes were shot like a network television show. I feel like a lot of that was just, and maybe that's because there was so much lackluster writing, and a lot of it was just recounting and base and like very generic. Like, yeah, we know that from the first movie already of whatever your interpretation of Arthur is. There's a couple of really, of course, like the most highlighted scene is the one with Gary.
This is the best scene in the
It's
movie.
the best scene in the movie for most people. But yeah, I do think a lot of that was shot flat. Like there's like no. So a lot of people are like, for some reason my mind would hop to that. That's the other part about that. I thought like there was so much missed potential that if you're gonna do your fucking clever, hey, look at Harvey Dent's face burnt in half here moment. Ooh, he's gonna become Two-Face.
And they just pan over it.
Isn't that gonna be clever? It's like, well, maybe you should have done something with Harvey Dent that shows that creates, as Coy likes to say, a dichotomy with the character.
As the character
that
is.
shows, like, hey, maybe there's a darkness in this guy instead of the most generic DA
12-year-old.
character.
Why was he a child?
Like he
in
was
his dad's suit.
like show
Why was that
something
man
that
so
he's
young?
like there's something about the Joker that's bringing out an aggression in him.
Yeah.
You know, then you have an awesome part with him becoming Two-Face, not just oh, my face is burnt in half. Now I'm going to become evil.
That's all I had
Yeah.
was my face. Now I'm bad.
I've heard people call him Smarmy Dent, and the one thing I missed
that's
from
funny.
that character is like I never really believed that he was like the good aspiration of Harvey Dent. I never really believed that. I was like, I could totally see how this guy would be like a villainous Two-Face
Yeah.
character. But
Yeah, Smarmy Dent's accurate.
Yeah.
The React Show. What's up, buddy? The guards never face consequences for Grape Joker. Yeah, they
Favorite
didn't.
flavor.
But I gotta say, that Brendan Gleeson, man, he knows how to
Oh,
hold a
man.
fort
My man,
down.
my
Man,
man.
That
he's
is
great.
what a force. Paddington and in Bruges' own.
Irish King.
Actually, we haven't theorized at all. Like, do you? At the very end of the movie, when they say there's a visitor,
No, I don't think there was. I think it was the guards setting him up.
you think he like made some agreement with this psychopath?
I think the guards wanted him dead, so they let it happen.
Hmm.
Personally, I think you're supposed to think it's Harley, and then it never was.
You don't think it was Batman?
Oh, it's Batman. He's now age 9, and he's like, I have to visit Mr.
I'm
J.
really sure it was Batman.
I'm a child. I
I've
will
been
come
thinking about that moment at the gate.
2
these
years
past
ago.
2 years.
Frankly, maybe he's my brother. I should go check in on my
Yeah.
potential brother. No, I think it was a setup to kill him.
I thought it could have been. Yeah, like who would be visiting him?
Nobody
was-
likes him.
I was fascinated by that. Yeah, I was like, who is the visitor? Who could it be?
I think it was to get him alone in a hallway.
I really would have liked to
That's
have.
my favorite read.
Like one of my sequel pitch ideas forever ago was to do Cult of Joker, and part of that was that the crowd, that the people following him would realize that he doesn't truly stand for any of the things that they thought he stood for, and so that's part of like what I like that this movie sort of does at the end.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, he's not our representative for the things we have anguish towards.
That's why I love
Yeah,
that scene with the
but-
2 guys dressed as Joker and him literally running from them.
Running away from
Yeah.
there's and I gotta give credit. Great shot.
Yeah.
The whole.
That whole sequence is
I
great.
love a oneer. A lot of people think they're gimmicky now, but I love them.
There's a lot of them in this movie.
And-
too.
Yeah,
but
the
that-
explosion one was really
That
solid.
oneer, yeah, to go out from the courthouse. and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some hidden cuts, but to go out from the courthouse and into the car and then onto the streets, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I liked. I'll throw it to the cinematography because throughout the movie, I would notice like, oh, these are really long choreographed takes, and they're not the kind of one. I think what's trite about a oneer now is a lot of oneers are going, look, we're a oneer, and there's so many of them in this movie that aren't doing that let you realize like, oh, we haven't cut, have we?
But that's also why the courtroom stuff, like you said, being kind of was like, oh, but we did so much cool stuff. Let's stay cool.
yeah.
Michelle, I can't stick around as I'm heading to work. Wanted to send some love, but loving all the Instagram content lately. Thank you so much. Put so much work into that. Roxy Stryer especially has been killing it. Greg, have you moved on to reading Iron Flame yet? I'm going to start it this weekend.
Fourth
Guys, I read a
Wing
book.
gang.
Oh, we read a book.
I read my first fiction book in many. I don't remember the last time I read a fictional book.
Like
It's
you read
been-
it off the paper.
Yeah,
read
you
it.
had it.
with
flipped
an
it, held it.
audio drama. They have audio dramas now where they like literally people are acting out everything and there's sound effects.
Do you
Like
read
a
it
radio
too?
drama.
And I read it too. Yeah.
So simultaneous, you got the visual and the audio?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
I've never
good,
done that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really. It actually is very, very, very cool. And but there's I made an Instagram, a Twitter one that did, no, a TikTok one that actually did really well. Was about there's one where there's like these characters are just like it's like several pages of them like having their first sex scene together.
Do they squelch wetly?
And it's like when
Squelch
when
is
you're reading it,
intense.
it's not bad. It's like a little naughty.
But you hear
in the
it.
audiobook, they are like filling in so much white on that page. You know, like
His turgid member
there's so
pulses.
much noise going on, man.
The turgid members is my
But
band.
I'm excited. There's gonna be, they're adapting it. Amazon, I think it's Amazon who got the rights to.
Everyone's talking about that book. People love it.
It's a great
for,
book.
for billions of dollars. They got the
Your
rights.
wife was the first person I heard talk about it. Now it's everywhere.
She's got a tattoo on her back. For it.
She's ahead of the curve.
Jason Ackers. That looks like Jensen Ackles if I squint my eyes.
does.
Hello, Jensen Ackles.
He's got Taupe. That seems like a deconstruction of masculinity. A modern film that helped the growing percentage of downtrodden men in the country to feel seen for once rather than being castigated. Is it castrated for their nature or castigated?
Cascade's a word.
Castigated is
No,
a
what's
word.
castigated? I don't know that word.
Kind of being ostracized for, to be judged by, to be put on a
cool.
different level because of their nature.
Hey Siri, what is it? He's
I've
fucking
been
Siri me.
castigating.
I've never heard
rapidly
I've
castigate.
I've actually never heard that word.
Castigate, reprimand someone severely.
Oh,
put on a
interesting.
Is
Oh,
another
cool.
definition there, yeah.
Oh, good word. I learned a new word. I would have just assumed you were saying castrated. Yes, perhaps. I wonder if Todd Phillips would say that, or he's just like, I don't know, I was trying to make something cool. This feels like an attempt to undo that as a response to the reaction from many that seem to fear men being men without major concessions and subservience.
I can kind of see what you're getting at. I mean, somebody in the chat echoed the sentiment that I think Todd Phillips himself was like. The first movie is about like, you know, a lack of empathy in culture and yeah, the toxicity that can kind of grow out of that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the first movie at least explores and acknowledges that person and goes like, well, what happened around to make this person possible, and what should we look at ourselves and maybe change to, you know, to heal that. The second movie, I'm kind of curious to revisit to see, you know, the thematic nature of the second movie didn't feel quite as unified because it's not as like beating you over the head with a specific idea as the first movie is. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, I think the Gary Puddle scene is sort of a treatise on the masculine. It's this thing that made you feel so powerful, made me feel so small and insignificant and terrified, and that's, you know, what. It's the shadow side of the masculine archetype versus the light side that, you know, I feel like you could have used Harvey Dent even to like
to show
try
dichotomy
and represent, yeah, like that kind of dichotomy or something. I don't know. You still don't have very many good examples of any kind of thing in either of these movies.
I think it's also dangerous to assume
In terms of like positive examples of a certain type of character.
I mean, no one's positive. These films are so bleak.
Yes.
Like, there's not a positive element in the film itself. There's positive to the conversation, but I also think it's dangerous to assume anyone's nature for being, I don't know, like, I always struggle with masculinity as a one-note thing. So I think Todd Phillips addressing people's judgment is one thing, but I don't assume that just because a man is a man that he's going to act a certain way.
Yeah. Look at you two.
But what about the life? What about the you know, the mantra of all life? You know, boys will be boys.
Oh, that's true.
They will be.
They will be.
And that's
That's it.
like
That's
one of
all
the
you-
oldest quotes in human history.
If you
so
say it,
must
it's
be
true. The
yeah.
boys will be, in fact.
Bros
Boys.
before hoes.
Also a statement. Also repeated.
Justin, the CEO of cinema, could not believe how awful it was. Just dreadful.
I mean, he's the CEO of cinema, so frankly, that's why it's not doing well.
Yeah, I mean, if you say so.
Well,
then-
it's got the lowest comic book movie
Of all
score,
time.
apparently, which I find that hard to believe that it is. It's its lowest in cinema score. Apparently, started beating cinema score.
I
But I'm
thought
like, it can't be the worst comic book movie of all time.
I
you
thought
know?
The Crow was worse. I thought The
I don't
Marvels was
believe-
worse.
Yeah, I don't believe this authentically. Maybe as a review bomb scenario.
I thought Madam Web this year was worse. Like, that was this year.
Well, and yes.
Like, that literally had ADR
There's
through
more-
80% of the film.
There's more worth deconstructing in
There's
Joker
nothing to
Folie
deconstruct in
than
Madam
there
Web.
is in Madam Web.
Well, I
yes.
think the disappointment of Joker 2 hits so much. For those who are disappointed, hits so much harder, though.
I think Megalopolis is worse, and it's playing now. And I agree, expectation, but, like, Francis Ford Coppola's been making that for 30 years, so to parallel the disappointment, like, that man made The Godfather.
But that's for, like, cinephiles who give a shit.
And-
Like, it's like Joker 1 was, like, a few years ago. Made $1
Yeah,
billion,
it's true.
you know?
So the expectation of current day.
Yeah.
And I fully acknowledge that, like, I am interested in and open to the second movie partly as somebody who didn't like love the first movie. Like, I liked and appreciated parts of it and didn't like other aspects of it. So maybe
Yeah.
that's also like people who love the first movie might feel quite different. And I
Wow,
get that.
Coy thinks The Crow with Brandon Lee
One-
is worse than Joker.
You know how much I hate Proyas's The Crow. I don't talk about it positively ever. I got a
Yeah.
lot of vitriol for the Brandon Lee.
Eddie Furlong is the only crow in
Oh,
my
yeah,
heart.
that's it. There's just no, the unmade Bradley Cooper crow with
That's right.
cornrows
Oh,
is the
yeah.
only headcanon crow.
Jason McCrowa.
Hey.
Oh
Hey, I
man, what a
would've
crow
liked
he would have been.
He would've.
And I hate the soundtrack to the first Crow too. It's one of the worst soundtracks ever made. Someone's
Yeah.
gonna clip that. Please don't. I love that movie so much.
Jahacio Parra. Joker 1 is in my top 10 comic book movies of all time. I'm not watching Joker 2. Crazy fall off. You kind of have to watch it because it completes the story in just the way you want it to.
Oh, yeah.
Go see for yourself.
It's really a two-parter.
Go,
Like,
go
I
see
hate
for
it.
yourself. I don't know. If you like the first one, go see for
I
yourself.
think you should always make up your own mind.
I really do.
I
But
think you should always make up your own mind.
especially
Don't
in
say
a
that to the
divisive
audience. They'll
movie.
turn on you. They're very upset.
No. We have to argue for that.
Well, these are the weird movies where people are like, okay, don't listen to anybody, don't listen to critics when like critics don't like something, but then when everybody else is out here like complaining or saying something's bad, then everyone's like, well, then I'm just never gonna see it.
It's really hard because if you say something is good that people don't like, you're reviled for going against the grain. But then anytime someone likes it, they're like, you just like it because it's popular, and people want movies that make you think. But then if a movie makes you think, then it's not for. I don't know. It's just I think the internet was a mistake.
That's the takeaway, really.
Because I'm creepy.
Sure, absolutely.
Justin back at it. Coy, has nothing to do with incels. The movie was just bad. Get through your thick skull, Coy. Through your thick masculine skull.
Yeah, man, my masculinity is really upset by people not liking my opinion about a movie that I just liked and not loved. I'm affected.
I just don't agree with just bad.
He's not
That-
talking about
that's all.
Brandon Lee's coat.
There's some bad stuff in there.
Coy is talking about Brandon Lee's crow. I want everyone to know that.
Only that. In
Yeah.
fact, all of my comments have only been about the Crow. I've been pretending they were about Joker.
But you actually gave a really positive comment to the Bill Skarsgård. Yeah.
I thought much like Joker, if it wasn't called The Crow, it would have been an interesting gothic love story.
Jason Ackers.
Not a good movie.
But it's called The Crow. It's
Guys,
called Joker. At the
I
end
like-
of the day,
I like
it's
movies.
called these things.
I like movies.
If it wasn't this, then people, well, it is this, though.
But you don't get movies.
That's the thing. It
Joker
is
Folie
this.
Adieu is absolutely a sequel to Joker, and that is why I don't necessarily agree with that. Because if you're gonna feel this way, I feel like you should have felt this way in the first movie. Then,
But,
and
but
then
the Crow is a great example of if they hadn't called them Shelley and
Eric,
oh my God, thank you, my
the
God,
character you hate,
I literally
played by
because Brandon Lee,
who
because
you also
of my
hate.
hatred of Brandon, I forgot his
Yeah.
name. If they hadn't called them Eric and Shelley and they just let it be a passing on of the Crow mantle, I would have
Sure.
liked it more. And that's what I mean. Like the Crow to me is Eric and Shelley. If this had just been another Crow, I would have liked it more because I think gothic love stories like this are interesting and they don't make movies like that. And so many people got mad that I liked characters doing drugs. Like, guys, drugs are important. So, like, I think it's really important. You got to tell that side of the story too.
If characters do drugs,
Then they're bad. Yeah.
That's how movie works.
What a Reaganomics like take on, or a Nancy Reagan take on society. It's really tricky to make a movie in 2024 and have more than a $5 budget unless it's tied to an IP, and that's because of the internet. Like again, unless there's a oh my God, explain this ending when it's obvious, or like look at all these Easter eggs. Oh my God, yeah, they put that in it. No one's watching them anymore. So that's why these filmmakers have to tie stuff to IP, even if it betrays the IP. I'm glad art got made.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's good. That's fair.
Like, I want movies to get made. I want art. And because if you get a movie in theaters and then you make the next thing and the next thing, you can then get to make 5 movies if one of them does well.
Yeah.
Like, I just want people to make things. And, like, for some reason is the hottest take and people hate it, but, like, don't watch me.
Joker 2 is like a unique piece of art, and you don't get that much. It's just that, like, the execution is obviously very debatable. But, like, yeah, it's
It's at least interesting.
way more interesting than a lot of just like flat it's fine stuff that you see, and like that's the bummer. I'm like, God, they got all the resources and the means and the lack of interference of some variety to be able to take a swing like this. And I'm glad that was able to happen. But also the response is a bummer because now, because this is tanking and doing so poorly, they'll probably be more averse to making more interesting broad comic movies.
That's
in the
what I'm worried
future.
about.
Journey's kind of boring. And that's
No,
why
I
I think
know.
people don't like a lot of these things.
That's also fair.
When it all comes down to it, it's like, but the movie itself is kind of dull for a lot of people.
That's
And I'm not saying
absolutely
it is a
Like-
6.5. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
I
at
think
least
both
it's
things
interesting.
are true at the same time.
I also think if they changed the articles on 2 of these movies we're talking about, if this was called A Joker and A Crow, great. But, like, they're not. And that's
real art can be boring.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between real art that's boring and like a product that's meh and also boring.
I think a lot of Daniel Day-Lewis movies are boring. He's fantastic in them. But, like, I didn't
there
get...
are great movies that are boring.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's a better way to say it. There are great movies that are boring.
Do we look? Apparently, we look like hyper blown out.
Oh, no.
Oh, good.
That's what they've been saying in the chat.
Let me pull it up on the phone as well.
I'm back to being in a good mood. My blood sugar's back.
Let's
and someone
see.
asked, is it a cookie
Daniel
dough?
Day-Lewis
Oh yeah,
protein bar?
we do. We look hyper blown out.
Oh, wow. We're on the sun.
Okay, we can adjust that.
Oh God, I wish you guys could see what we look like on OBS.
Oh, we look great here.
We look so perfect.
To
And on-
us,
on
which
the
is what matters.
And on the phone, we look fine.
On the computer?
On the computer.
Or on
we
the surface
don't.
of the sun?
I don't. We need to like talk to like a YouTube representative to fix this.
Hello, Mr. YouTube. We're blown out.
And it's weird that it should be like
Stop talking.
good. Like last week, it was pretty good. I feel like, and then this week, it's
Yeah.
it's a little. I don't know.
Well,
We
good luck
can
to Will
adjust
Bill
the
Billy.
lighting though.
Good luck.
We can-
Jason Ackers. The idea that this character is some sort of incel hero is reductive and naive, you bitch. Taking the murderous and insane part out, it's a story of a weak man learning to stand up for himself.
By killing 6 people, you sound very well-rounded. I'm glad he stood up for himself and ended lives.
He ended the right lives.
Did he?
Murray, he was kind of mean.
Yeah, but he probably
He
had
was a
family.
national
Probably had people that loved him.
television Murderer.
I
What
mean-
about those CEOs that those Wall Street guys who
On the subway.
knocked him around,
Man,
beat him up?
those guys would never mature out of that phase.
So
They
weird.
were beating him up.
They were beating
He
him
had
up.
every right to.
They
were
deserve to
literally
die,
beating him
and I
up.
hope they burn
and
in
we
hell.
look so nice on the phone. I don't get it.
They were literally beating him up.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all CEOs.
Also, the 30 seconds that he lasted with Lady Gaga in this film pretty much proved he was incel. So
That was quite a choice to make that scene as like uncomfortable and sweaty. And
I've
just,
never
like,
done this
off-putting.
before.
Yeah, like this is not romantic.
it was a bad romance.
This is not a cathartic. And I think that's intentional, but it's like not cathartic.
You guys are so. Yes, I think all incels are murderers. That's what I'd say.
I like that scene.
Oh, I thought it was great.
I
thought
like it too.
A lot of people bitch about that scene.
I
I'm
like that it
I
was
think it's
off-putting.
kind of actually perfect for her.
It is.
No, it's
It's
the
a good
story. That's
choice.
the character.
It's the choice to make there. Yeah.
I
don't
want-
don't
It's a-
do a decadent sex scene there. Please
It's a
do not.
solid-
Yeah, that would not work.
Solid way of telling us he's a virgin too, without saying you're. A
That's what I'm
virgin.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's
Totally.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much. There's so much there, and in the brevity of that scene too, because it is like pretty brief.
Yeah.
Lawrence Lyles is going to get me canceled because I mentioned incels.
Well, you know what's going to get him canceled? All that shady through it. Brendan Lee's The Crow.
That's true. My
Yeah.
hatred of The Cure and of Nine Inch Nails and that soundtrack,
Coy was out here like nothing I would change about the production of that movie.
nothing at all.
0 things I would change about any of that.
So, John, what if we just like dipped those lights way back? Would that make any difference?
It's either that or we take down like the gamma a
No,
little
no,
bit or
we're
something
not
like
taking
that.
out
Then we're not going to be Hulk.
The gamma is.
We
what
need it.
Yeah, I don't know what gamma means.
I don't know. I was just- it's like a thing to
always
say.
The
think-
bright, it's the bright. It's one of the things that affects the.
Are we
the
slowly getting
brights.
gamma radiation then?
Yeah.
Is that what's
Um,
happening?
That's-
Greg, you're a
that's-
sheep.
That's my hate comment.
There it is. I'm an evil daywalker. Will Bill
Yeah.
Billy hates me with such a passion, I feel like he wants to fuck me.
It's all right, dude. Look,
You should.
we all have opinions and we all have our haters.
You
Yeah.
guys should do it.
I'm just giving them shouting out love.
At least your haters have faces in their profile pics. Sometimes.
That's a cat.
I got like a.
That's a
boring-
cat in a
like-
fez.
Oh, that's true. I got.
That's
like
not a person.
Yeah, you know, like a lot of people who are dicks in the comments right now. You guys should at least show your faces.
I mean, it's honest. I'm going to get canceled for another comment from Kakakati, who is a K and
Yeah.
no name at all.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I don't know what I said, even though I was going to get canceled, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready
I know.
for it. If we can get away with interviewing people, we can get away with talking about incels.
Yeah,
Here we are. Will Bill Billy.
I think I've publicly stated I think Heat is very overrated. I've gotten so much shit for that, but I guess I'm still a sheep.
Greg didn't like this movie. I don't know how you're a sheep.
I didn't like it.
Sheeple.
I hate Robert Smith. I think the misinterpretation of sarcasm is gonna be really tricky on this particular live.
Oh sure.
I only give deep dive opinions to be called a sheep. That's how it is. You gotta get deep dive opinions to be called.
I did 25 minutes of
incels.
Joker
Yeah,
review.
yeah. Just to say, just to completely trivialize your.
It's all it
opinion,
takes.
Coy.
It's just one word that triggers certain people that probably need to
That's
get
all it
laid more.
takes.
How's the lighting now, gang?
Don't-
Sound off.
Dude, it doesn't matter. Alexander Rivera. This movie is a rough watch.
Mm.
But yeah, thank you for the super chat, my friend. But yeah, Arthur is disturbed, and that's it. He is bad, so he doesn't get a happy ending. Yeah, he kind of got a happy ending. If we don't get the happy ending as the audience by seeing him become the Joker we and Harley wants him to be.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful through line of an eyeline character, and I think they did a really good job establishing it. I think the audience wanting that character to be that and then feeling betrayed is so well done with her.
I would not be excited for a happy ending where he just becomes the Joker.
Yeah, that would have not worked. That would have been the
that would
two
be
that I felt until that point.
Strange.
Yeah, like
Like I don't know. I don't think that would compliment even the first movie. I feel like I don't know.
I think they're like, as one of John's favorite words, propulsive. I think, like, again, it's just nothing really quite created this momentum.
Yeah.
Or like there was this thing that they had in their script, obviously, where there's an argument being had. I'm trying not to say Coy's word too, by the way.
I just had that comment is
Which comment?
Commander Keen.
What?
Commander Keen in the chat made me like fully break. Like that is.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, golly. Comment. I mean, leave us your thoughts.
There's two women who obviously Arthur has conflicted affection for. He straight up kisses, goes for a kiss for her. Is his attorney and Harley Quinn, and both have completely different point of views. One is saying, you are Arthur, you're a disturbed, mentally ill person who needs help. And then the other is Harley saying, no, Joker's your true identity. I want to see the real you. That's who you truly are. And that conversation of that between these two components who are also like his replacement maternal figures somehow only being met like 40% of the way. And I think that's where I think a lot of the propulsion could have like I didn't feel the heartbreak at the end.
Yeah.
When Harley's like feels like
Kinda
abandoned.
did on the stairs, but not enough.
I was more like, you're being a dick, Harley. I was more like,
Oh, that's short-sighted.
It's kind of mean, Harley, but I'm also kind of want this movie to win, so I'm all right. Like I didn't really feel much for that, and I felt like a lot of like I thought there was an interesting idea there, but again, it doesn't fully like just go there.
Yeah, I agree, and I would have liked that. I like the way you're describing it actually more than the movie delivered it. Catherine
And
Keener's
that's a
character
lot
opposite.
of our conversation, I think, for the three of us. Is
Yeah.
A lot of what we're saying makes the movie sound more interesting than the actual experience was.
And who did you say said it? Like it's better to talk about the movie than actually watch the movie.
I think it was Alonzo Duralde.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But I do think it is better to have that than have no conversation at all.
That-
So
that's
if the
why.
movie causes that,
Yeah.
That's why I want to see it again, is to see if any of these thoughts that have arisen and these feelings that have arisen since the first viewing have any bearing on the second viewing, or if I watch it again and go, oh, yeah, this was just as kind of, oh, no, yes.
I'm so happy. I'm
this
so happy.
hurts me fundamentally. This like actually gives me pain. We'll get to it.
This is the best part.
This
of
is
the
we'll
stream.
get to that
People
super
are
chat.
actually going to think
Oh,
you
no.
have a crow
Don't,
now.
no,
Oh
Don't-
God, that hurts my soul.
Don't correct
People
anyone,
are going to
John.
get confused and think that you hate the Bill Skarsgård Crow
They're
now.
gonna be
Your
confused.
favorite
No.
movie of the past
I wanna-
decade.
I
It
wanna
really
make
is.
sure
It
we-
really got me.
We
It
can't
did.
abandon the Streamlabs.
Oh God.
We can't
Hey
abandon
man,
them.
look, it's kind of wild to me that you prefer the Bill Skarsgård version over the
Everyone
Brandon Lee
knows.
one.
Oh,
You
yeah,
guys-
it goes Bill and then
It
Edward
goes-
Furlong,
Yeah.
Mark Dacascos.
Goes to show that you're a
Yeah.
shill for these studios.
Guys, that Rupert Sanders tattoo is healing up nicely. I'm gonna really just.
What's on your Rupert Sanders tattoo,
It's just
Coy?
his face. It's just like a really close. I don't even know what he looks like, but I got an anonymous white guy's face. I'm like, that's Rupert Sanders.
That's my man right
Jesus
there.
Christ,
Oh man, I'm gonna put on my FKA Twigs album and bop out of here. This
hey.
is maybe my favorite live chat in a while, though. I'm very entertained. We've turned Will Billy, who now wants our bodies. This is fascinating.
Dan V900 has also brought up that I know wrong one. Sorry.
Don't even be sorry. It happens.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. Yeah, okay, it's this one. I know people bring up all the time how Joker made $1 billion gazillion dollars. It's still crazy to me that it almost made $2 million more than The Rise of Skywalker's an R-rated film that opened in China. It was so successful, we got a sequel that wasn't needed. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't want to make a sequel.
They all said that, like, we're
Yeah,
done.
he didn't want to make a sequel.
Then that dump truck of money backed up real slow to Casa Phillips.
I was like, oh, I feel like if they're making a sequel, they must have something they really want to do and say. And you know, I will say, it seems like there was something he wanted. I feel like he needed another draft, maybe another like 2 to 3 drafts on the script.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I'm not going to say there's nothing he didn't want to say.
I just wish he'd said it a little, like, faster.
a little better. A little faster.
Yeah, I don't think this is lacking for inspiration. I feel like they did rise to the occasion of like, well, how would we continue this even if I would have done some things different?
Listen, guys, in the chat, as long as you can keep going, trying to define what the word incel means.
It's
and
really got to keep.
when it should
Also,
be
it's
applied.
very funny that people think that I'm referring to everyone that liked Joker 1 as that when I identify with someone who liked Joker 1. And frankly, I loved a booty. So I don't know what the interpretation of also the sarcasm back and forth. It's fascinating. I'm having a time.
There's so many threads to that I'm trying to
It's got to be
gather
clipped on
here.
some message
The booty?
boards.
Where
The
we got the booty?
I mean, apparently you can't like Joker and the booty. So which way is it? What does it mean?
I enjoyed this movie as an Elseworlds Joker movie, NB says. Thank you for the Streamlab. But when I also watched Coy's review, he said it's more of a clown than a Joker movie. That changed my experience of Joker 1 and Joker 2 in a good way. Question for all three of you. Did Joker 2 make Joker 1 worse? In a weird way, for me, it did both. It highlighted because this movie's doing so much of the same shit, so much of the same kind of commentary, and I'm like, well, the first one does it better, and the first one tells a better movie overall, a better execution, and even if it's not trying to say as much, what it is saying, I think is better, more refined, and so I'm like, it actually highlights how to do it right or how to do it stronger. And then at the same time, because this is the completion of that story, it kind of makes it worse for me.
I could see that.
Joker 2,
It's not like watching Terminator 3 or Terminator Salvation. I'm like,
Where it's
Terminator
just like,
2's
that just
ruined
doesn't
for-
happen. Like, I just-
But I'm like,
let me
no,
disregard
this
that.
definitely, yeah.
Joker 2 didn't really change my opinion on the first movie. It maybe underlined or highlighted, like I said before, I think Joker is a movie that I've been back and forth on over time in various ways, and I feel like this highlighted for me that I think the first Joker movie is less spiritually interesting, but a tighter, more like imminently watchable movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of solidified my feeling on that. But I don't. It's weird. Like I said, I had the opposite experience from the first Joker, whereas like the first one, it kind of it would start falling apart in my mind thinking about it, whereas this one accrued more interesting value to it the more I've thought about it. So, yeah, I feel about the same about the first Joker,
It's
honestly.
a great comment.
The Superman Returns answer.
Baby.
Victor Bottino's right.
That would be so fun.
That baby is the Joker.
I would love if they actually embraced that and made a Joker 3 like that.
Just a little kid.
What if
Joker.
that's the Superman and James Gunn's
That's
Superman?
it. That's that baby,
That's the
from
baby.
Lee Quinn.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
To answer briefly, thank you, one, for watching my review. I really wanted to at least have a conversation because I do think the way we watch movies is a little broken. I think as long as there's a conversation to come out of it, the art succeeded. If you're having the conversation about, like, you felt something, you're having it. So for me, this art succeeded because it made me think, it made me want to converse, it made me want to share ideas, and sharing ideas is the last thing we humans have as we lose society and AI takes over everything.
I'm sure
So-
Warner Brothers feels like they succeeded too.
Yeah, they definitely. the suits are like, we made so many negative dollars.
Yeah.
But I do
But
think.
art.
But art.
That's
They're,
what they're all
they're there
saying.
for the art.
But art.
But I do think that the first film never felt like it was the Joker to me. I know it's called the Joker, so it didn't invalidate the first film for me. If anything, I feel more validated in my own personal interpretation because as soon as I saw Bruce Wayne, I was like, well, that's a baby.
Oh, no.
And like, that's not the Joker. So this made a Joker, the first film, and a Joker Folie à Deux very interesting. And I really like that we're having a conversation about how, well, we're not currently, we're just yelling at people that like this movie. But maybe a few dozens of people will have a conversation about the sensationalization of violence versus the people committing the violence. We should probably worry about what we're doing to people that makes them feel like violence is the answer, what we're doing to people to make people in live chats validate 6 murders. Like, I think it's a problem.
Lawrence Lyles.
I saw John.
Part of the experience of art is that you can have like a changing, growing, morphing opinion.
No,
so just like
you're just a little pansy.
Yeah.
I don't
you're
agree
soft.
with the
So I
idea that
can't-
you have to know exactly how you felt and it's never going to change the second you saw it, and no amount of revisitation or reflection can change that.
That's why you can't run for president.
Yeah. Oh, God.
If
Can
you guys
imagine how
say
much that
so,
would
I won't. If that's what
Yeah.
you guys
I think
want,
you should,
me to do,
John.
I
I
won't
think
do
you
it. Then.
should.
Thank you guys.
Just
Thank
run for
you.
president's about shoving your opinion, your point of view, not listening.
That's, I mean, you just got, and you only have one opinion the rest of your life, so you better form it early.
I think debates are kind of pointless.
Yeah. Well, the internet doesn't. They already know what they're doing. They already know who they're voting for. They don't care about actual things.
Yeah.
Also, I always thought that Arthur Fleck was a joke on Affleck. I always thought his name was Affleck to be joking about Batman at all. Like,
Hey.
this all felt like a joke to me. I've always thought he was trolling, like the team behind it. So I thought the big troll of us now is funny.
Yeah, It's a funny movie.
And the title, Folie Adieu. This is a folly, and we bid you adieu.
Yeah, there's so many layers of like screw you if you want to read it that way, if you choose to.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Good.
So I hope that answers your question. Thank you for watching my reviews.
Armani Martinez. Harvey is assistant DA and casted young, now PTSD.
Yep. He's
That's his arc.
collapsed PTSD.
That's his arc right there.
In that Elseworld, he's just like shell-shocked and two-faced.
That'll be the Two-Faced Joker universe movie. It's just about a guy struggling between the light side and the traumatized side of his personality. He doesn't hurt anybody. It's just a guy trying to heal himself internally.
And he's going to punch that kid in the face, too.
Exactly.
As he grows up.
Exactly. Find little Bruce Wayne and punch his teeth out.
Kaylee, Coy, thank you for the super chat. Coy, love your review of Wild Robot. I haven't even seen a trailer for it.
Dude, that movie
We're
is
going to
so
react to it. All anyone tells me is, I couldn't stop crying. Now I'm like,
You're going to cry a
shit,
lot. Dude, I cried in that movie.
Oh, I'm glad it was on camera.
I'm sorry I got to live an emotional moment to myself that I thought you'd be happy as my
Bullshit,
friend, Greg.
no.
I thought you'd be appreciative that as a
No.
person that struggles to cry, I got to release some emotion.
If
But no, my friend
you're-
Greg and my
if-
business
if
Greg are
you're-
different
If
Gregs.
your tears aren't monetized,
Then what are they worth dropping
They
for?
are
Well, at least
dry-
That saline went for naught.
dry
At least-
tears.
This drips on nothing.
All right.
There was no coffer to catch the tears.
No, guys, at least now I know that I'm allowed to cry and probably should cry if and when I see it because you cried.
I did.
So-
I did.
So there you
The
go.
release was there.
Now
It's
I know
so
what to
beautiful.
do.
Oh,
Now
you're
I
like,
know
oh,
what
wait,
to
I
do.
feel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, according to Lauren's Law, without me there, I don't know if you will have an opinion.
Now I'm probably.
I need to go
That's
with you.
why I'm glad we
That's
talked
true.
about
That's
it.
true. You're cleared.
I'm going to be so focused on crying that I'm going to.
You're not going to cry.
I'm not going to cry, or I'm going to cry at the wrong scene. I'm like,
That's joy, Greg. Everybody's good.
scene. You did it
It's-
wrong.
That's the
You
opening
watched it
credit.
wrong.
It's so good.
Hey, last one. Promise from Charles Smith. Thank you, Charles Smith, to respond to Coy. That's you, the incel.
Oh.
It's nice. It's not funny to lie to your audience.
Uh-oh.
It's not funny.
It's not funny.
It's a little funny.
Did you guys know
It's a
Coy
little funny.
hates the Brandon Lee Crow?
Hate it so much.
Joker deserves
It ruins cinema.
Joker deserves a film to show his complexities as a psychotic manipulator. Joaquin Phoenix has been wasted on a bad joke. Yes, he has.
That's just there's another version of a Joker movie waiting to be made.
yeah. There's like a billion more.
I never expected this to become the quintessential version of the Joker ever.
Okay, look, to your point, to your guys' point, here's what I mean when I'm saying that it went too far. I think it would cross too far along the lines of like way too far deviation of Joker. Take Thor Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
People fucking love Thor Ragnarok.
That movie is so overhyped.
Okay.
It is not that funny, and it's not Thor.
Well, look, listen, people love it.
Tag.
People love it,
Yes.
but that's not what people thought. What you said, a lot of people didn't think what you just said.
It literally is the same amount of
let's-
humor as Love and Thunder. People just like thought it was originals. They were like, "This is great."
Hold up for a second.
Okay.
I'm saying the general reception.
Yes.
The general reception.
Yes.
People still didn't feel like they ruined Thor. People
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was hilarious and it was cool.
Yep.
Thor Love and Thunder does the same thing, but people fucking hate that movie.
You only get one
because
joke.
it went too far
Tag.
in that way. And that's what I would like in this experience too, but on a different genre and
Okay.
tension. It's like, sure, yeah, like the first one, but it doesn't cross the line too far into that territory. This one, I think, and clearly a lot of the people who watch this movie feel that way too.
I agree with that assessment, and I agree that that's how people feel about it. I felt that way with Ragnarok, that I didn't think it was a bad movie. I was just like, that's not Thor, and like that's not Hulk. But it was fine as a constructed film. But that's the difference in like it's the same thing I feel about Agatha. Like Agatha wasn't made for me, but I can be like, that's well made.
Sure.
For Love and Thunder, I was like, if people liked Ragnarok, maybe this is what people want. So I remember leaving Love and Thunder being like, that was good because I thought that's what I was meant to get from that film. Like, just like Ragnarok, I thought what I was get was like, what a jaunt. And then, like, once I settled into thinking about it 2 days later, I was like, I think I hated that. But it took me, but like, much like John, I'm a wallflower. I get to have no opinions except for the ones I form right away. But like, Ragnarok.
I told you like Love and
I
Thunder.
love Love and
It's
Thunder
not
and
that
hate
bad.
the Crow. But I feel like Ragnarok, I think Ragnarok's in a lot of people's top 10 Marvel movies, and it's not the character. So if if you can judge the movies that you think are betrayal to the character, then that should be on that list. This is all I'm saying about Ragnarok.
I'm not saying it's a one-to-one comparison.
No.
guys.
But all I'm saying is that if we're gonna use the genre argument, I think they're both in that same category of not being the character as told.
And I like Love and Thunder. And boy, have I seen crap about it already. Whenever I like or dislike a Marvel movie, there's someone who's about like, yeah, but you like Love and Thunder.
Eternals is like that's
Like,
right
oh,
next to my Rupert Sanders tattoo is my Chloe Zhao tattoo.
Can't trust a thing this guy says.
Get your
'cause he
director
likes
sleeve
Love
going.
and Thunder.
Let's go.
Shay Markel.
Oh,
Hey.
why does Greg get to be the pepper?
Yeah, he's spot and hot and spicy. That's racist.
Jealous.
He's the only
Because
one
I'm
with
a
any
red
color on
hot
him.
chili pepper.
You-
Look at my red, you dumbasses.
Well, Greg's the only one with
Man,
seasoning.
my
We're just
John's the one who clearly lets himself get plugged,
yeah. You're full of potassium.
and you think you're the Bugs Bunny troll.
That's fair. That's fair. Also, I seek joy instead of whipping, like carrot or stick. I seek happiness. I'll be a carrot.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yep.
Agent Shield's great.
I don't
Shay,
like
thank you.
network TV.
Coy! I want to respect your point of view,
Good luck.
but The Crow is a classic. And the fact
Brandon Lee's performance is iconic,
no
and he should
other
be with
Crow
us
sequel
today.
has lived up to that original.
Yeah, I know.
Which I think is how the denial of fan service can be poignant.
Turns out it can rain all the time.
But respectfully, your point reminds me of D&D's justification of Season 8 of Game of Thrones. I love you, though.
Who's Dungeons and Dragons?
David Weiss,
the people-
and
the
DB
people-
Weiss, and David
The
Benioff.
people who made
Those the showrunners?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
What
I
was their justification?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch Game of
We
Thrones.
want to go make other stuff now.
I watched season 1 and then season 8 of Game of Thrones, so I'm like,
That's the way to watch.
I just don't like long form when it doesn't hook me. But I respect you trying to respect my opinion. I mean, I think we just disagree. I think that fan service is dangerous. I think that fans running anything is going to get things to be very neutral because you can't make big swings if fans run things, which is why this whole community concept is dangerous. I think that you should have fans make the thing. So I think Todd Phillips was not the one to make a Joker movie. No, he's not the one to make the Joker movie. He certainly made a Joker movie. But like, I think that's the difference is made by committee versus fan service. Fan service turns into fan entitlement really quickly. So I think you can do things like No Way Home, which is amazing to serve the fans, but I'm glad that it wasn't 100 people telling them what to make because we got to have the Uncle Ben Spider-Man thing and still feel like, oh my God, all 3 Spider-Man on screen, but it was still a good movie, and it was still Spider-Man. But, like, I think Joker was never going to be Joker because you can't make an idolship movie out of Joker. Like, you can't have your protagonist be a murderer and not expect people to, like, how do you tell that story and make it honest? So I don't know, and especially like it was never going to be a Batman movie. So I would love one day to get a Joker movie that feels like the Joker. But I never thought this was. Maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah. I want a Joker movie that's not the Joker.
You got 2.
I got 2. I believe you can, he's continuing, I believe you can show a version that respects what the Joker is while ensuring he is punished and isn't rewarded by the end of the movie. I concur. Like in the first movie, he goes to Arkham Asylum. He's in prison in Arkham Asylum. So at the end of the day, he's still, even though he becomes a Joker, he is in prison. I feel like he could have still been killed off even if he was like the Joker by the end.
I don't think they'd do that. I think that's why they didn't. Like I don't know.
I will say I like the deviation of the like. I know a lot of people were disappointed by one thing I want to give the movie credit for a different route is that I know that Harley Quinn, while they honor some of her backstory with saying she has a psychiatrist background and stuff, they obviously don't do the route where she's a psychiatrist who then, falls in love with the patient. I like the approach that they took with her having her be some like obsessive fan and
Yeah, she's a dancing girl.
Yeah, and still wanting to propel this side out of Joker. I
thought that was a clever take.
I thought that was a nice middle ground of a completely different version of Harley while still feeling like I still feel like I'm watching Harley Quinn. I still felt like I was getting hers at the end of the day.
Especially
for this world of Joker.
When her hand is revealed, especially. I mean, she already feels kind of obviously a bit unhinged when we meet her, but especially finding the whole picture only made her seem more anarchic and wild and sort of curious to me. So,
You had a
I feel
super
like you
chat.
have a thought.
I feel like oh thanks, Christian.
This is a super chat we missed. I'm sorry. I value your guys' opinions even when I disagree with them. Love you. Hashtag
Coys
Boys.
And hashtag fuck the crow.
Yeah, that's my new brand. I think that I think honestly, what the dichotomy between these two messages, I think you can not see eye to eye with someone's opinion but still respect it. I know you're trying to respect my opinion as per your phraseology, but I honestly think it's such a beautiful fine line between fan service, fan entitlement, and accepting what the creator's trying to make that I just see everything piece by piece. I try not to go into the MCU films thinking like, how does this connect? How is this like the last one? I just want to see 2 hours of entertainment and see what that brings out in me. So with the Joker movie, I'm just experiencing like that 2 hours. So I don't know. Maybe I just see movies differently. I don't need every adaptation to be beholden to its original thing. And I think the joke of the betrayal is funny.
Well, and we've done so many Jokers, and
Yeah,
we'll continue to do way more Jokers.
I'm not worried about not getting an authentic one. I just don't think he should be the hero of the story because you should be you need to be afraid of the Joker. Even Heath Ledger's Joker, who is hilarious and captivating and fascinating, is terrifying. You wouldn't want to be in an elevator with that guy. You shouldn't identify with him.
I mean, you can still make him the antagonist.
You can identify with the tragedy, I think.
I think the closest we've gotten to that is American Psycho, but so many people have tried to make that sense and have failed.
I think, Juana Perez, to answer your question, I really think it's the conflict of the choice when Arthur ultimately, like as an Arthur Fleck story, it works when he denounces the Joker in front of the jury. I think that right there is like, that was, I think like for the Joker to be the Joker, he wouldn't turn around on that. I think he would have descended more and really committed and then turned his back on Gary to a harsher extent. That's when you're like, oh, he's really the fucking Joker now. You know?
That was the moment in the bathroom for this movie.
I think that's when the split. I think that's when it's like, okay,
That's when it lost
That's
you.
when it's like, this is so not Joker now.
Yeah, I understand.
That's when it's 100% not Joker to me. Is when he makes that choice of like, I'm not the Joker. And it's just an Arthur Fleck. And I'm like, oh, part of me is I'm there. I was like, I get it. As an Arthur Fleck story, yeah, I get it. But as a Joker movie, I'm like, it's not really Joker anymore to me.
Well, yeah, to me it creates a divide where, oh, I see. Now it's about the concept of the Joker as a persona rather than this guy who is the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the movie's presenting itself as that the whole time.
Yeah, it at that point like shifts over into like, oh, that's what this is really about, and I can see that losing you, just totally. Yeah,
I think I wonder if I haven't heard anyone really reflect that here in the comments, but that's just like for me of trying to pinpoint a moment of like, what was it that really just kind of.
Yeah, I'd love
Put
to
the
see that
nail
in the chat.
What put the nail in the coffin for me?
We're going to get a few,
Yeah.
like, it's a musicals, but, like, what was the moment for you? Because, again, this is one of those movies where, like, if you don't like this movie, I'm not going to assume we don't get along. There are some movies like that where, like, if there's a movie I love.
like if you like The Crow.
I'm
we're
just
not
hating
gonna
it.
get
Actually,
along.
I might fight
which is a
you.
weird opinion.
I might be like, I'll do the little, and I'll
punch you in the
Yeah, I'll
mouth
be
if
like-
you like The Crow.
Now it does cry all
I
the
mean,
time.
you got to watch some horror movies. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Give that a shot.
At no point did I identify or want that to be the lead.
You don't need to identify with him, but you can see, I mean, yeah, he's bad.
I didn't really like that movie.
I mean, there's nothing
It's
about
bad.
Henry that is in any way
Redeemable
What's
or
that?
that you want to
What's
get
that
on board
Baz
with.
Luhrmann movie? The
Australia.
not the Baz,
Hugh Jackman.
not Baz
Yeah,
Luhrmann.
you literally said like,
I was like,
Who's-
what?
Who's the fucking the Lars von Trier? Lars
oh,
von Trier.
what a different director.
I want to see them collab.
No.
I want to see the evil Elvis
the
story
Jack-
from Baz Luhrmann.
No, the Jack.
The house that Jack built.
Yeah, that one.
With,
Yeah, there
Matt-
you go.
Matt
Matt
Dillon.
I've never
Dillon.
seen that. Oh, I love Matt Dillon,
It's
though.
it's a perspective of a serial killer.
Oh.
Dahmer.
I like Dahmer. Jeremy Renner. I like that film.
No, I mean, that was a show.
Oh, the Evan Peters.
I've not seen that.
Yeah.
The Dahmer movie with Jeremy Renner is great, and that's actually a good example of like walking that line.
Yeah.
It is possible, and I would
Is that
try
My
it.
Friend Dahmer? Is that the comic book one?
No, my friend Dahmer's different. No,
Oh.
Dahmer's
A Renner movie from
Just
the early
Jeremy
90s.
Renner. Yeah.
Oh,
It was like he got 3 Breakout of the Year awards. He literally got a Breakout award for SWAT, for Dahmer, and again for Hurt Locker. And I was like, the man is broken out. Renner is here.
He's been here.
Is that gasoline I smell? I agree, Star-Lord.
Armani Martinez. Joker is the origin of Gotham being a madhouse. I gotta say, I feel one thing that when I look back at the first Joker, it's the same way how I feel about Batman Begins. Is like, oh, Gotham feels like a defined personality in city. Even if whatever version of Gotham you want Gotham to be, it actually feels like there's a defined personality to Gotham. And this movie doesn't have that.
I agree.
Like, it just feels like New York City to me.
They even said New York a couple times.
Yeah. It must have totally flown
And
over
I
my
was
head.
like, is Gotham in the state of New York? Like, and then I was like, maybe it's a taxi driver thing. He's like, I'm making a Scorsese movie.
Oh, wow.
I think it's partly because you just don't spend anywhere near as much time actually at street level.
And I think if the movie was really about the concept and the perception, then I think that we should have done that.
I think
I
it would.
agree.
I
Yeah.
think it
I
would
agree,
make
that would
that
help.
Yeah.
stronger and more clear as if we were really out on
But
the
we
streets
needed
for
to
a lot.
see Joker liking Harley, so we needed a lot of musical numbers instead.
Oh yeah, that's the only way to. I wouldn't have understood otherwise, Greg. I wouldn't have understood.
Otherwise.
I have Shri. I agree. I have many thoughts on the Dahmer show and none are good. Hate what they did to the victims' families. That's why I don't usually watch serial killer stuff based on real life because it is glorifying. That's what this movie's about. It's glorifying horrible things. So I don't want to give clicks or eyeballs or whatever. I don't want. They make so much of it, and
That whole
that's
thing about the TV movie about his life.
that's.
Like,
I think that's
yeah.
the Joker one.
Yeah.
I interpreted that.
Oh my God, that's actually I like that.
I always interpreted
like
every
that.
time they said
Yeah.
the TV movie, I was like, "That's the Joker movie we saw." Like I thought that was a
Why
fun
didn't
meta
we
thing
see it?
because
Was
that's
it-
Joker one.
Was it that cartoon at the beginning?
To me, the
Yes.
whole movie was Joker 2019.
TV movie.
Oh, the whole movie was Joker 2019. So
When
they
the
were
movie about
able
his
to,
life.
like, AI Arthur Fleck into it.
No, like there was the meta commentary, and they made a movie
Did
about.
Arthur Fleck kill the person interrogating him at the end of Joker 1?
Oh, I've heard this.
I don't think that would
Does
that
that
would've been
count
sad.
toward the
Why-
body
I
count?
was watching the movie. I'm like, are they not going to bring this up?
Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah.
The end of the first Joker is forgotten in the second movie. He's like rallying all of Gotham. They're like, we didn't. Like they didn't even acknowledge that.
We got that under control off screen.
very quickly.
Yeah.
It didn't actually affect anything.
The doctor had a bloody nose, and Arthur just stepped in it.
Is
and
that-
What a
that's
kind
I
why-
feel
guy.
like if you watch Joker 1 and then immediately put that on,
It's like what
Dude,
happened
look,
there?
you put on Joker 2, you're like, it's not, I don't think it flows into Joker 2.
Yeah.
I don't think
Especially the ending, because like
especially-
hundreds of people would have died. Like he'd be
Yeah. No,
responsible for
guys,
so many
it's
deaths.
just the ending.
Arthur died in the fridge, and now all the end of Joker plus all of Joker 2 is just his dying hallucination.
like the ending.
like Walter White.
yeah.
Because the
Cool.
the ending of that one, it really felt like, oh, he's Joker in the madhouse of Arkham now. Like he's literally kills the doctor, he's running away from the guard, he's leaving bloody footprints.
Yeah.
And this one is just like, I'm Arthur Fleck imprisoned.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
ending would have been like the musical numbers that we thought, like that
Yeah,
big
yeah,
lavish,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
no. You're not wrong. 6.5 out of 10, guys.
Is Armani
I'm just being
Martinez.
real.
Joker's the origin of Gotham being a madhouse. We talked about that. Sir Fettuccine.
Fettuccine.
First movie was
Good
basically
pasta.
Arthur's transformation. Thank you, Sir Fettuccine. Embracing his Joker side. And the second movie is Psych. Just kidding. The whole character arc was pointless. Much love from Boston.
It does start over.
If
You're
they
not
had
wrong.
made the debate stronger, yeah, I think they could have alleviated this, the very real feeling that is the case. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they had really made the grappling between the shadow self and the self like forefronted and really personified that more.
I like the intro. I like the cartoon. I thought that was cool.
I thought, and a smart way to tell the story
love that.
because the whole movie is that story.
I thought
the
it was a
shadow.
good recap of the first movie, and I like it. Like, to me, that's how the musical number should have played out, where it's like, oh, this is pleasant, to this is getting deranged.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should see, like, it should be like an ironic contrast of like you enter musical land and it is sort of like lush and beautiful
Yeah.
and
And a couple of
saturated.
them were.
And
Like, I love the white suit scene. That was what I thought we'd get the whole time.
yeah.
And then instead, sometimes it was like, man, I'm in a courtroom.
Like, it's weird. And for a movie like that comes as a sequel to a movie that overtly has like an in character's mind fantasy played out on screen, which granted doesn't get like fantastical. I feel like that would be a perfect way to take that ball and carry it that much further. Go into the subjective POV of the deranged,
Yeah.
rather than just watching from the outside, which is interesting, but not for the only choice you make.
Yeah, I think the if you're not going to really do anything with exploring the psyche of Arthur Fleck through the musical numbers, then I feel like they should have kept the musical numbers for the most part the way how it was when they were trying to break out of Arkham after the fire on the piano, because that's at least that's how a lot of musicals are. They're at least still within the plot of the
Mhm.
movie, not just let's go inside the mind of someone singing a song.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
the function
Yeah.
is either here's a new revelation that's moving the plot forward, or here is a treatise on some kind of revelation that the characters have just had.
Yeah.
And I feel like they mainly kind of lean into the latter, which is fine, which I know a lot of people don't like about musicals, and I am fine with. But again, I feel like as the only choice, not
Did not work nearly.
Not
Guys,
my favorite.
In the chat, you gotta read. It'll pop up on the screen.
Tim wins.
My life was a comedy, but now I realize it's a shitty musical.
Oh, it's,
It's
a
a
shitty
shitty
musical.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
That is pretty
that's
funny.
funny.
That is very. That is the comment of the stream
Yes.
right there.
That's a really funny comment. What
King
time is it?
comment right there.
All right, guys. I'm going to disable the super chats.
Never.
Right
Not
now.
enough people know how much Koi hates the crow.
Yeah.
So much.
I'm going to disable the super chats, but we are going to get through the rest. You can still contribute super stickers if you like. And then, of course, we want to finish the stream labs. We just want to end by 2 o'clock our time.
Our time.
Let me just refresh this really quick.
Yeah.
I'm hitting the wrong keyboard. Okay.
Oh, I would love to see a Joker horror Michael Myers-ish take. Not make him silent. It is exactly 1-to-1, but yeah, I think that'd be cool. Do a horror movie, but where it's like a comic book crime horror villain thing. That'd be neat.
All right, let's read this last stream lab of the day.
Hey,
That comes from
Jaden
Jaden.
Smith.
Hey guys, a pleasure as always. I left the movie with a lot of thoughts, but when I had time to sit with it more, it grew on me.
Same.
Curious as to what scene you guys will remove or expand upon. Oh, we kind of said that about a lot of different ones. I don't know what I would narrow it down to. Coy, do you have something specific you could narrow it down to?
I think the first act definitely suffered from repeating the patterns of the first film, and I get the idea was that Arkham breaking him was cumulative, so we saw the drugs nullifying and Harley telling him or Lee telling him to stop taking the drugs so he could become himself again and using the split personality idea. But I feel like they didn't have to restart. Like they could have had him teetering between things. So I would have cleaned up the first act by getting rid of a little less of the weak Arthur because the character's already weak. You don't have to show him weakened further. And then in the second act, I think that they kind of dabbled with the Lee relationship to a point where I wanted to see, how do I describe this? There's more action that could be taken even in dialogue with their relationship. Like I wanted to see them actually feel connected sooner. Like I didn't buy them together for a bit, and I think that could have been a little faster. Like I know it takes time to form a relationship, but I don't know. The first and second act just kind of dragged.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's pretty clear. I would absolutely expound on the musical nature and fantasy of all that. I don't know exactly what I would just take out wholesale.
I'd cut a lot of the songs in half. Like I don't think you need them as long.
For this execution, yes. I would change the execution and maybe keep them as they are if that were the case.
If they were bigger, they could be as long.
Yeah.
But as they are, I'd go hour, like a
Yeah.
minute and a half instead of like a 3 minute.
If you really embraced fantasy and embraced the tradition of musical filmmaking, I don't know exactly what I would remove. This is another one of those movies where I'm like, all the ideas for me are like fine and interesting, but yeah, it's mostly like an execution thing.
Absolutely. Hope if we got a director understood musicals, it would have drastically helped.
On a scale from Once More with Feeling and Repo the Genetic Opera, where is this? That's an odd scale there. I mean, I like Repo better anyway, and Once More with Feeling. So both
right.
there.
On the scale of 10 to 10 for John.
Those are just both. What are we doing? A 10 to 10 scale? Yeah, exactly. What would you take out, G? Besides 60% of the movie.
I mean, I feel like I've kind of talked about it throughout the entire stream of things I would take out and things I would totally enhance upon. I wouldn't know how to just. I am not skilled like you guys, where I could just efficiently summarize it. And plus, I want to make sure we end by 2. Netflix Joe, Joker 2 is projected to earn $20 to $35 million in the weekend box office. Beetlejuice opened with $110 million. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go Beetlejuice.
I mean,
crazy.
Beetlejuice had a good word of mouth. It looked like the original. Did you watch it?
Didn't like it.
Wow.
I thought
Well, now I don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
You told me, Coy.
Now when you watch it, you'll be like, this was right. He didn't like it. And I didn't like it. I knew not to like it.
Yeah, you love this one.
Actually, they're probably about both 6.5s. So I have more thoughts about this one. Like, they're both fine. Actually, no, that's not true. I would give Beetlejuice like a 5.5. This is 6.5. And 5.5 puts it on dislike. I disliked Beetlejuice. I thought there were too many subplots. I thought that they definitely leaned into nostalgia in boring ways. They didn't give the new character actually a thing to do. I didn't like the boyfriend character because it was a very obvious twist that undermined the whole situation. I thought that the actual use of Beetlejuice was the right amount of Beetlejuice, but like it didn't feel as bombastic. Like obviously Michael Keaton is much older, but they didn't let him be. The beautiful thing about the first Beetlejuice is he has these crazy manic and then these like really gravelly fun, and then oh my god it's big, and like it was all one note of that fun Beetlejuice, but it was a one note Beetlejuice. And then they also didn't really build the relationship between the mother and daughter in a way that I cared about the relationship. And then they did clever things with the actual horrible real person's character from the first film, but then you didn't care about why they kept cutting to him because you're like, well, I get that's a bad thing. And then by the time you get to the third act, the villain of the film is only seen in a few vignettes, and then you land on the villain arc and you're like, okay, and then they dismissed that whole thing. So it wasted a lot of time throughout the film, so didn't really like Beetlejuice.
Wow. So let's get this straight. You love Joker too.
Love.
Best movie
You
of the year.
hate The Crow.
Hate The
Worst
Crow.
movie of all
Roundly.
time.
And the movie that people really enjoyed this year, Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
you also hate. So you're
So,
just
like-
and Thor,
Ragnarok.
Thor the Dark, whatever.
Third Dark World's amazing. Cinema. So guys, with the scale, it's a 10 for Joker, obviously. It's a 5 for Beetlejuice. It's a 1 for The Crow.
No, it's a
that
negative
despicable,
1 for The Crow.
despicable cinema. And then I would say a 3 for Ragnarok, obviously.
I think the main difference is that Keaton's not improvising as much in Beetlejuice.
Hey man, he needs to make money. Armani Martinez, Joker 1, Bruce 8, Harvey 18 plus. What? Age cap is now fixed.
Armani, I do not know what math is mathing right
I don't
now.
know what's happening in this math.
Yeah, wait a minute. What gap are we fixing here so that Bruce and Harvey could get together?
In Joker 1, Bruce is 8. And in Harvey, I don't know. I don't know what it means.
I don't know.
Either
Jason Ackers. He's got 2 comments here. He's saying, I'm not saying men are a certain way, but it's not promoted that men explore all the facets of masculinity. Sure.
I agree with that. Sure, yeah.
By the way, I love you guys. I'm discussing here. I don't mean to offend.
Oh, I didn't feel offended.
no,
We're
we're discussing film.
I
Yeah.
feel like you need to clarify again with a $50 one.
Yes. Let us know how much you don't hate us monetarily.
What
oh,
in
no,
the
I totally
Terrence Howard is that?
Nerds
bad?
Engaged thinks I hate fun. It is so funny how people don't know what to do with me not liking things because they think I only like things. That is such a funny comment for me. I'm working for DC and Marvel, and I hate fun.
Well, I think the construct of femininity and masculinity is a really fascinating subject, especially in like marketing material.
I think it's really fascinating on the internet because the word masculinity almost has toxic in parentheses in front of it in silent font. And like, I love masculine stuff, but most of my audience
You're a very
thinks
masculine guy.
I really like violence and the gym, and I really enjoy what things people are avoiding as conversation stuff. Like it's really hard to be someone that is empathetic towards others, but also like guy stuff, because as soon as you like guy stuff, people are like, oh, bro. Like, I am a bro, but I don't think that word means, it's not a 4-letter word like people interpret it. So I think masculinity it's got the worst PR ever.
Sure.
Like the masculinity concept. Like, I think it's important to have masculine attributes, but I think that they're not all bad. I think a protective nature, an instinctive nature to, take care of others is really important, but it's a different kind of taking care of than maternal energy.
Yeah.
I think you need a little bit of both. I think it's a spectrum, and people have masculine and feminine traits, and we should embrace that.
Wait, what did Zachary say that's coming up so much in this chat right now?
What did you do, Zachary?
Chris, I hope not need to say-
Zachary, what happened?
Someone wants to sniff me. Masculine stuff.
What
Everyone
super
wants
chat
to-
did he
that's
have?
this-
That
that's
There's a lot going on.
I don't know which one of his that's like has people going crazy. I'll
Oh.
find it toward the end. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
He's the guy who made our Joker shows. You remember my Joker shoes?
Oh yeah.
those are sick.
Started tattooing. Oh, you started tattooing?
That's
I have
awesome,
never
dude.
gotten a tattoo.
Yo.
Congratulations, man.
Boy
Those shoes are
has
dope.
5.
I've got that Rupert Sanders one I'm working on. It's gonna be
Oh,
showing
yeah.
right now. you
Rupert,
guys.
Chloe,
And then the screw Brandon Lee's crow.
yeah, a picture of
It's
Brandon
just-
Lee
just
in a
crossed
circle
out.
with a slash.
And then
through
lots
it,
of
yeah.
rain underneath because it can rain all the time.
It can.
That's,
Yeah.
this sleeve is crazy. Sorry, we interrupted a beautiful moment.
No, man. I mean, he wants to give John ink someday, and I hope,
do it.
John, I hope that you're able to get a tattoo one day.
Would love that.
I could see John being in there.
I can see
being
John being a tatted boy.
overly
People
decisive.
are usually surprised that I don't have any.
You strike as a tattoo fella.
I'm
It'll
not
happen.
surprised at all.
It'll
I
happen.
feel like you take forever to make a decision. and
well,
I'm like,
it's for
"Ah,
life, a
John,
tattoo.
Come on.
I feel like a tattoo is
Just
pretty
go. I want to
permanent.
go home. Why am I accompanying you? to your
Why am I
tattoo?
accompanying you to an activity that is inherently hours long?
And also a
wanna
permanent
go.
decision.
Yeah.
Why are you
Leave
taking
it.
so long to do things that affect the rest of your life?
Yeah. Can we wrap this up? I know
mean,
you got 3 more
honestly.
hours in the
Zachary was
chair.
the one about the crow one.
Oh, we almost there?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes.
I'm the kiddo, but no, man, I love
What
those
sucks
shoes.
is everyone's gonna have left after an hour and a half and not seen the Crow redemption arc. But
Nope,
we'll get there.
There's
we'll get
no
there.
crow redemption.
No,
arc.
there's not.
Hate
Tramp
the
stamp
crow.
now,
Hate
Haunted
it.
Autumn.
Danny, I hope your business is going great with the ink, man. I mean, those shoes
Yeah.
are bad freaking ass.
Badass.
Shay Markel, Coy, I'm 100% behind your I'm glad art got made take. I don't care. If I don't like Joker 2, I'm glad its wings were taken. I want better versions of this.
And I
Exactly.
agree with all of those
Exactly.
sentences. I would love a better version of this, and I'm so happy it also exists.
Like, I hope, I wish they would take the inspiration of, we'll just do this, but better next time.
Mhm.
Because, of course, that's easy
But
to
I-
do.
but
let's
since
bring in
this
some
is-
fans to find out what it is.
And the fact this is making no money, I don't know how we get to make things that are as good as Last Jedi, you heard me, and also make things that are going to keep us making fandom happy. Because you cannot just bigger, and same story. It is
Endless
so...
entropy, Coy.
Oh, it's killing me.
Shay Markel also says, more Gamma. I want 3 new Hulks.
More gamma. We'll increase the
Ah.
gamma and the green balance next time.
Red Hulk, OG Gray Hulk, the pants of Green Hulk
That's
at the ready.
right. And hey, we're already married, Willie, Billy, Bill.
I can't wait for Captain America. Zachary Skulls. Here it is. The fact that Coy hates The Crow is wild. The
Yes.
soundtracks is one of the greatest soundtracks ever.
Wrong.
The music complements the atmosphere, mood nicely.
Wrong.
Opinions. Well, if you're talking about the 2024 version, he would totally agree.
Totally, yeah.
But
Or
the-
any of the sequels to the original film.
Now
Yeah.
that it's almost 2 o'clock, the jig is up, guys. The Crow is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love The Crow so much. Like, The Crow is actively a film that got me into film commentary. The Crow means so. I watch The Crow every October 30th.
Don't shill just because I said I liked it. Now you feel
I
like
have
you have
opinions
to
that are
agree.
different than
All right.
John's, but not this one. Every October 30th, every Devil's Night, I watch The Crow. It is one of the most important films to me. It is. I literally was listening to the soundtrack yesterday. I adore that film, and that's why I'd never seen a sequel. I tried to watch the new one, and I think part of my being tolerant of the new one was I was like, they tried, but yeah, I love The Crow.
We have a bi fan of Greg in the chat.
Oh hey, Metal Stop.
Live your best life.
hey, it's cool to hear.
I wish I was bi, man. Like it seems so great.
Bye, man.
Bye, man.
Well, it's like getting another Twix bar.
I'm here to
whole
sleep
thing.
with them both, Jen.
Yeah, like that's
Why,
amazing.
yes, I am.
If you could be attracted
Bye,
to
man.
every
I am
type
the
of person,
representative of this taste.
I feel so like short. Like I feel like I only have half the people to be attracted to because I keep wanting to think dick is great, but I can't. I'm like I want more, but I just love women.
There are many
He
great
meant
Richards.
big fan of Greg Alba. That also.
I know, Metal. I know. It's fine.
No, Zachary. You defined the chat. Jonathan Whittup.
No,
Thank you.
Zachary, thank you. We saw that like 40 minutes ago and have been so happy
It
about.
has
You
been
gave
the
us
bit.
the running joke of the show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. To me, this was the first movie on repeat, but with a new sense of identity, and I like that. What's weird is I don't usually have hot takes, but hey, my grandma loved it. Folie, I did.
That's a hot take.
You and your grandma, Folie, do.
Yeah,
Sharing
no,
that
I
madness
think,
together.
I think that is absolutely a. I mean, I get it. That's in our non-spoiler. I was like, yeah, that's what this movie seems to be about. It's a reflection.
The shadow
Todd
version.
Phillips was like, wow, what did I make?
Hey, what did I do?
There's so much violence in the streets now because of
It was interesting.
It's like Todd Phillips really thinks this movie had this like long gestating effect through society, and now I need to course correct everything.
I
Well,
haven't.
seeing interviews with him, he has often come back to the idea of like we were trying to make a movie about kindness and empathy and what happens when there isn't any of that, and I get the aggravation of like, wow, people are not taking that from this movie.
Yeah.
You know.
I think one of my interesting takes in the film is that I left the first one being so afraid of that becoming more normalized. Like some people talked about. Like, I don't think the world went to crap. I don't think everyone idolizes the Joker. But I had a fear of that violence being celebrated, and that didn't happen to scale. But then 5 years later, watching this movie, I didn't feel like Gotham was as terrifying. And I'm like, is the world just that much worse? Like, in the last 5 years, things have gotten so much worse than they were 5 years ago. I don't think it's the worst time humanity's ever had. I know some people get like really hyperbolic and like think this is the worst time humans have ever lived. I'm like, World War II, World War I, before we had like,
The Crusades.
yeah, before we had medicine. But I do think the last 5 years have really tested us. And it was interesting walking out of this movie going like, oh, I just kind of feel like that's not as scary because it's just we hate each other a lot more.
This is the world.
Yeah, like we are so much angrier.
Anger Man.
Go suck a nut.
Brandon Lee's.
Macadamia.
Zachary Scolds back at it.
Let's
so
go.
in regards to my first super chat, I suppose I misunderstood. No, you didn't.
No,
He
you got it
really-
right.
My bad. I came in at a weird time, I guess.
Nah.
My bad.
Nah, it was weird until you got
No,
there.
dude,
It's been
and that
weird.
was
This whole
perfect.
thread's been weird.
It's been amazing. No, really, we're not making fun of you. We really are. We thought it was perfect for us. About Joker 2, though, I saw last night. I love the beginning and end, and musical aspect got old fast. It's weird. I would say that about the first movie. I love the beginning and the end.
And the middle got old fast.
Yeah. And I would actually say was probably the same thing I might say about this one, is that the beginning and the end are probably the strongest parts of this movie.
I agree.
Guess he's not good at Act 2s. is
Yeah.
what- yeah.
Or
Saggy
part
middles.
2. I mean,
Yeah.
Hangover 2 is not great either.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Zachary.
Thank you, Zach.
Alexander Rivera, thank you. The musicals did a great job making the original score bad. I can
Oh.
feel it in the theater. People being sad after hearing the Joker score after a musical because it brought us back to the drag. Oh, man, I saw people leave a screening when musical number, like towards the end, like I forget when it was like maybe like 20 more minutes left in the movie, 20, 30 more minutes, but some musical number came to us out, so I just like put
Yeah.
their notepad down and
I'm
like
out.
left the
Wow.
theater.
Peace movie.
Bye.
They're just reading about the ending now.
There was someone behind John and I who would go,
Yeah, we had like a yawn sigh guy.
that's so
never
funny.
talked, but just just like, so frustrated.
It was
Krusty the
Delonzo.
Clown.
Delonzo
It
was
was.
Thanks, Metal.
Shout out Alonzo Duralde.
Yeah, that would, Joe Keery as Nightwing would be perfect, actually.
oh,
That's a
what
great
beautiful hair.
Or Dylan O'Brien.
You have to
I
work on his
see.
squats. Nightwing's butt's iconic.
Oh yeah, definitely get them cheeks.
you get to
some
CGI
cheeks
it,
going.
man. Will
Get
Billy
cheeked
Bill.
up.
I kid, but I love you guys and the Scream Queens. The Scream
Oh, Will Billy.
Queens.
Scream
are
Queens.
Who?
Roxy and Tara.
You know,
if
Heather
they watch horror movies.
Langenkamp, Jennifer.
They're also known as the She
Jamie Lee
Jacks.
Curtis. The lady from the Texas Chainsaw
I
Massacre.
follow every member of the Rejects on Instagram. I know who they are.
I know who my
I
coworkers
pay attention
are.
to people that I pass by in the hallways of this studio. I see them. I high five. I walk past.
You're one of the Scream Queens, aren't you?
Yeah. Can I get your autograph? Can we take a photo?
Charles Smith. Not every adaptation needs to be authentic, but this is the first Joker solo film. Surely they should stay faithful to the first fucking one. Come on. You can't
What
really
a good use of the
You
F-bomb.
can't really fault people for being like annoyed. Like,
I get it.
Like
I
maybe
don't-
some people actually didn't return for Joker 2 because maybe a lot of people actually didn't like
That the first one was-
yeah.
I didn't feel like this wasn't faithful to the first movie. Like, I get why you would be off put by the whole, like, jokes on him. He accepts being Arthur and he gets shanked. But I don't know. I never felt spiritually like, well, this is a totally different world movie, etc. now.
I agree, and I think it strengthened. I don't think
no,
the first film is better for it, but I definitely strengthened my take on this Joker.
But that's my point. Is like maybe not as many people like the first
That
one
takes
as much,
like a.
as that much that they didn't return for it. 'Cause
That's fair.
Oftentimes, sometimes I get like terrible reviews and stuff, but they'll still return for it
Yeah,
because it's a sequel.
it is
Yeah.
crazy how much it's bombing.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm definitely aware of is the Marvels versus Captain Marvel. There was all of the anger at people not showing up for that because it was MCU. I'm really curious if there'll be any commentary on like, where are the white men seeing the white man movie? And I'm just like, I'm curious what the demo is that is enjoying it. Like, what's the audience that isn't giving it a D at Cinema Score?
I mean, it doesn't really seem like a fun movie to want to see.
It's
like
not
a sequel
fun.
to.
Yeah, neither of them
I
are fun
mean,
times.
You know, like it's so aggressively like sad.
Yeah,
It's so dreary and bleak, and yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't rewatch the first one. I certainly won't watch this one a lot. Like, it's not like a good time.
Yeah, because Todd Phillips doesn't understand there needs to be. But honestly, there was a little bit more humor in this one than the first one.
Yeah, there was a really
I-
great joke I loved with the what.
Oh, yeah.
That was like literally guffaw funny. Like when
liked-
he did the what.
I liked when he writes to his lawyer like, "Can we get Harley a better seat?"
Oh, that was
next
so
time?"
good.
Yeah.
He's like drawing the whole time. That it's just like that was such a good
That
joke.
was funny. Yeah.
Also, I
something
want
that
to
made me
give some love to
cackle.
Zachary too. Zachary, I was getting so frustrated with being misunderstood, but I was trying to say that I was feeling like I was communicating poorly, and then you made the miscommunication so much funnier because I was talking about both crows, and so not only did you save the stream, but you saved
Yeah.
my sanity for miscommunication because I have to talk for a living. So when I'm misinterpreted, and some people doing it out of bad faith, you were not doing it out of bad faith. So thank you so much. You made my day better. I appreciate you.
Alchemist 3, 2, 1. Moment of silence. For the last one, here's what I'm going to end it with, because I did not forget what we should be talking about. John, how do we go up there?
Oh.
We didn't talk about dynamic duo once, and I was so excited about that.
Oh, man, this is a stream about a movie.
There's
Arthur-
other news!
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on. Watching a spoiler talk
CEO
about a
Greg.
movie I
Yeah,
am never
CEO
going
Greg.
to watch equals entertainment. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who already. Oh, thanks for the final super sticker, Joel Bradley.
Woo, Joel.
Is that Metal
The
Staff?
perturb.
Metal Staff, you've been going way out of your way to clarify that. We know. Thank you.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I knew the
don't you
second I
worry,
saw
buddy.
the comment you meant big fan.
Oh, that is so
I am
good.
so
We
sorry
totally-
to have coy crowed you.
Don't
You got Coy crowed so hard.
Metal Stop is the straightest member of the chat, and I dare
Yeah.
any of you to challenge that.
I think we are in a very interesting time with movies and shows, and I find it that we're not actually seeing it happen with Joker. You know, like take like Rings of Power or Marvel's. You know, when it gets like all this hate from a certain camp or certain YouTubers, people just immediately gravitates towards, I'm not gonna watch this. I hate this. Da, 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 da. And then those YouTubers in that camp get all this blame and criticism for being the ones who hated it before they saw it, and because they heard things about it, or they did see it and they spread bad word of mouth. And weirdly, that's not happening with this film. You know,
Yep.
like
That's
but
why-
I'm
that's why I was
but
saying
I'm
the
like-
demo
but
that
I'm
liked it
pretty
versus
sure,
hated it.
I'm pretty sure it's happening though with the movie, but we're
Yeah.
not hearing that conversation around it. Like, oh, people have made up their minds and are hating this movie.
There are like 6
Before
YouTube
seeing
pages
it,
that
you
are
know?
causing the studios to actively make fan groups. Like there are such a small number of very loud individuals
But
that are changing
they're-
cinema for the worst.
Well, they're really just, it's the way how I would like a Donald Trump is at the end of the day a voice for a group of people.
Right.
And it's not just that there's 6 individuals. There's 6 individuals who represent a very
Millions
passionate
of
voice.
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
I agree. But I mean, so is Kamala. Like it's
Absolutely, yeah.
figureheads.
No,
but
there's a complete opposite camp too.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think there are 6 voices representing the like. There's like hundreds of smaller ones. That's
Right.
all I mean. Like it's more spread out versus like
Absolutely.
figurehead figures.
Yeah.
Well, and I have seen the usual suspects in the Whinge Brigade posting about this and being like, it's trash, but not to the same level and degree that
They're
they
not
go out of
saying
their
like
way.
Joaquin Phoenix should die. Like a lot of time it gets personal.
Yeah,
Like you know what I mean? Like
They're
there's
not like
so-
sending Lady Gaga death.
Yeah, like usually the,
Yeah.
people go back and they find photos of them like mid sneeze in an interview and then put like tears under
Yeah.
their face and go like, ooh, failure. Like
Yeah.
no one's doing that to Joaquin with like Walk the Line songs. Like
Or-
no one is making it personal.
I just love when
or-
people do that.
Not as many.
Or even crucifying Yeah, as much as crap as even I've given Todd Phillips crap, like good amount of crap during this stream, I feel like he's getting nowhere. Like the movie's getting crucified, but like the individuals behind it aren't.
Right.
Whereas
You doing the
that's
personal
usually
attack,
that's what
yeah.
happens with a lot of these movies, and like Todd Phillips himself is not getting crucified.
You're
whereas,
saying
like,
what I was
Rian
trying to say.
Johnson was.
Oh
like,
my
the
God.
one crucified.
Yeah.
It's not like Star Wars is Last Jedi. Is like people are going Joker 2 is awful, terrible.
It's
da, da,
not
da.
like
Yeah.
people are targeting Joaquin Phoenix and,
Yeah.
and trying to run him out of the public eye.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy can go in public. Like, I don't know what she looks like, but like, it doesn't feel like it's safe for her.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm weirdly seeing about like people taking that thing of James Gunn saying that.
Day Napper disagrees.
Like James Gunn had a bit of of his like, yeah, they were already well into production by the time we joined WB. We gave like a couple of notes, but it was mainly done. Like that quote that James Gunn had, where he responded to someone, where he's basically like, I might have said like a thing or two,
Yeah.
but I didn't really have a say.
Because so many
But
people are like, DC, it's James Gunn, so this
Yeah.
is current, so fire him. It's
But
like,
people are still like, James Gunn, look what everything he touches is. Like,
meanwhile, his movie's out next year,
Yeah.
and like,
yeah,
but also people aren't giving James Gunn credit for The Penguin, which is out at the same time.
yeah, no,
And
no.
they were
Like the
out
best
here.
show.
Todd Phillips and company were out here in the weeks leading up to Joker 2 being
Yeah.
like, it's pretty much a WB. We did this without any James Gunn, any DC, anything, you know.
yeah.
You basically just said what I was trying to say more clearly. Like, I'm wondering what demo is vitrolic versus the ones that are like, that's a movie.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the end of the stream, guys.
Hey.
We did talk about the opening scene. I forgot we did, right?
Yeah,
we did.
the
I
cartoon,
forgot.
how it's kind of the whole film. It describes the plot.
That's true. That's true.
It reflects the past. It looks to the future.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely true.
And it's
Um,
just nice to get an animated Looney Tune.
Release the Phillips
WB.
cut, Haunted Autumn says. Yeah, no.
I bet there's a 6-hour cut of this movie somewhere.
Oh, no, there's so much deleted. The shot
The third
they keep
act.
leading with him on the stairs
The
kicking.
kicking.
Yeah.
Literally, like, the ending shot of all the trailers, the
The
IMAX
posters
poster
is not in the
is
film.
not that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's true. Oh, thank you, Sky, the Magnanimous 8. That's a really kind thing for you to say.
Thank you, Christian Unpronounceable.
I didn't make a sketch with Ashley Edgar. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
but
no. Time to make
got
one.
a podcast going out with my brother tomorrow, guys. Real Rejects Diaries. You're the first ones to hear about it. Brand new podcast.
Right here at the end.
That's my random announcement
Oh,
that
what
I
a-
didn't plan on doing.
He's like, here you go.
But
Here's
Real
news.
Rejects Diaries. Got a little podcast going up
Hey,
tomorrow. Keep a lookout
hey.
for it. The Gaga cut. I haven't heard her album. Is that one good? I haven't heard it.
I have
I
not
haven't
heard
heard any of it
I haven't
yet.
heard it. I want to see it.
Nah, I wanted to listen to it after the movie, so I'll put it on over the
all right,
weekend.
guys,
We'll
we're
do
s-
another live stream all about it.
We're saying bye right now, so there's just some quick shout-outs in here. Juana Perez, thank you so much for
Hey.
sticking around
Popcorn
for our
roulette. I
opinions.
agree.
Thank
Not well,
Christian
but I like it.
Unpronounceable, always in our streams. Thank you so much.
Sky
What
the
a G.
Magnanimous, Nini.
Cajun, it was good to have the trio. We liked this.
I
Hopefully,
know.
the Venom 3 is worth talking about. I
This
think
was
I'm
fun.
so excited. Have you guys seen the Busta Rhymes and UFC
Yeah,
ads for
that's
Venom
funny.
3? I'm so happy. That's so niche.
What?
My jokes. Like, so
Oh.
Tom Hardy busts into UFC headquarters trying to get money, and then he like puts Sugar Boy and or what's his name? Oh, you don't know. Yes. Sean O'Malley.
Don't ruin the
Oh.
whole thing for
Okay, well,
I
it's-
will react
Tom
to
Hardy.
it.
You can watch it.
It's good. And then Busta Rhymes one's good too.
Stephanie Horta, thanks again
Yeah,
for being
thank you
in
for
here.
jumping in.
Jason
Jason
Luce,
Luce.
real. Metal, stay up. We know you're straight.
Yep,
Spidey
Metal,
says 72. Zachary Skull is the man of the hour. Tim Ween K.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for being in our stream with us today. I'm glad that we had a chance to demonstrate having difference of opinions and not having to murder each other.
I appreciate that. Remember to go watch The Crow.
It was
and-
really hard for me because like I didn't know which one of you to agree with.
John has no opinions. He's
Yep.
a mirror, a reflection
John
of us.
is weirdly developing this reputation here of a man with
Thank you,
no
Sugar Sean.
backbone and opinions.
Which is not true. Like, I actually asked John for his opinions because he has them.
There's
I'm just willing to entertain the conversation.
No, black or white. Black or white. There is
Rings-
no nuance.
Rings of power.
Oh,
Whatever opinion John has that's negative, I get blamed for John's opinion.
Art is in the shared discourse, and part of the
It's the-
fun
yeah.
is that your feelings and opinions. Every time we record an out of the theater review, a couple days later, I'm like, did I really articulate my thoughts right? Is that how I still feel? Like, you know,
it evolves.
embrace the living organism of our interactions with art.
That's the point of
Yes.
art, and I'm glad we got to
Like
share
we
some.
watched an interview with the vampire, and like Roxy certainly had some aversions to that movie, and I feel like we had a very thoughtful discussion wherein I laid laid out some things I really liked about the movie while also being able to be like, I totally see why you feel that way. And if I don't see why someone would feel that way, I'll say so.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad you guys
If
hate
you
me
guys
now that I
tell me
liked
to.
Joker
If you tell me
6.5.
it's okay.
He has to get approval.